And the two teams, India all in the royal blue, England with the red jerseys and the dark blue trousers, lining up alongside the umpires and match referee. And we're not too far away now from the minute silence that will be observed by every person in this ground. There's a reasonable contingent of supporters over to my left in the pavilion, also at the far end of the ground, that uncovered stand as well.
Are deeply saddened and shares the sorrow of the nation at the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen and her late husband, His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, both had a long history of supporting cricket and England's national sides. We recognise her immense contribution to the nation across the Commonwealth and around the world. For those who are able, please be upstanding to observe a minute's silence in her memory. Thank you. Please remain upstanding for the national anthem, God Save the King.
Well, the England side arm in arm for that rendition of God Save the King, and the two teams now make their way towards the boundary edge ahead of the start of this second T20 international between England's women and India, a fixture that was the semi-final of the Commonwealth Games at Edgbaston, went the way of India on that occasion, and England, rather of a shock really that they didn't make it through to the final of the Commonwealth Games, but certainly they will feel that they have the upper hand, having had that quite emphatic win by 9 wickets in the first T20 at Chester Street. The two umpires, Sue Redfern, Paul Pollard, are heading out to the middle in their familiar dark blue tops with the green sleeves, and not long until we'll see Danny Wyatt and Sophia Dunkley heading out to the middle, with England having won the toss, elected to bat first. Amy Jones, England captain, saying that it's a ground where they like batting first. They've got good success in terms of big scores at this venue. India, meanwhile, Harmanpreet Kaur saying very happy to have a bowl, so everyone's happy, which is always what we like to see. Right then, I'm getting out of the way. Lauren Winfield-Hill, some more from you, and then in a moment it'll be Emily Windsor.
Yeah, good evening, Lauren. Nice to be back alongside
you again,
you.
Windsor.
I'm sick of you after 4 weeks, and now we're back together again, Lauren.
Oh, don't be like that.
No, it's going to be a belter here, that's for sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing Danny Wyatt and Sophia Dunkley opening the batting. They've really made a precedent how they're going to play, haven't they, so far, in both the Commonwealth Games and the T20 series against South Africa.
Yeah, I think England wanted to make that shift, didn't they? Particularly at the top of the order, with being a little bit more aggressive in the power play and going a little bit harder at the top, and just, I guess, setting the tone a little bit more positively. And I think that's something that obviously Danny Wyatt's done for a number of years now, but I think the way that Sophia Dunkley's come out and played has almost taken a little bit of pressure off Danny Wyatt, and she's played really nicely in both, across the last couple of series. So hopefully she continues that from the other night.
Yeah, the crowd applauds both the England batters, march into the crease. The Indian players are already out there, ball being fizzed into the keeper's gloves. My catch up with Lauren has been swiftly ended, and I'll be switched out for England legend Anya Shrubsole, who will be alongside me to start. That was a swift run up here, Anya.
Not if you saw me come up the stairs, it was very swift.
You didn't take the lift, did you?
Not this time.
Gotta rest those knees, Anya. So, Renuka Thakur will open the bowling from India. From this media centre end. She was impressive actually for me in the first T20. She bowled really nicely, but just didn't get the rewards. Her fielders didn't back her up, and I know India will be looking to start with the president, especially in the field today. There's two fielders out, a deep mid-wicket and a deep cover slip in play. Everyone else in the ring. As Thakur, with 10 on her back, starts in her mark past the umpire to Sophia Dunkley bowls, and that's left alone outside the off stump. That's nipped back, and the Indian players like what they've seen so far.
Yeah, big swing. I think quite a lot of that was once the ball had passed the stumps, but that big swing back into Sophia Dunkley. That's that shape that she gets. Came back in quite late. They say there's two types of leave.
That was a good one. That's an Anya Shrubsole delivery, that one as well, coming back into the right-hander. If anyone bowls in swing as well as Anya Shrubsole, they're doing well. Thakur in, bowls again, play and miss outside the off stump. Dunkley advances, the keeper throws it back and it does hit the stumps, but again Dunkley just struggling to get underway against Thakur.
I think that one just held its line, and that's the skill that she's got, that natural shape back into the batter, and then the next one that just almost wobble seam, holds its line past the outside edge of Dunkley. She is a very canny operator.
Keeper now helmet on and come up to the stumps because she saw Dunkley moving her feet, and cover in the circle, and a long off out on the boundary now. As Dunkley just composes herself, taps her back down in a low squat position, ready for Thakur. In again, bowls full, and that's worked nicely out to deep mid-wicket. The fielder's coming round. Will she get there? No, she doesn't. Sweetly timed by Sophia Dunkley, and that's England's first boundary, 4 without loss.
It's a great shot by Sophia Dunkley. I think that was something she didn't do enough of the other day. There's a lot of movement. She was constantly trying to get the ball through the offside, whereas there she stood still, played a good cricket shot. There's plenty of gaps on this leg side still. Absolutely nailed it for 4.
That's a way to get off the mark, and hopefully that will settle the nerves that Dunkley may have. As the court in again, bowls, and that's worked into the onside. There's a square leg in the circle, but she said it just in front of her, so they come through for a single. 5 without loss, England. England earlier winning the toss and chose to bat. Good decision out there, Annie. I've seen you've been out there. Looked like a good pitch to bat on.
Yeah, I think it will be a good pitch. It's obviously used. We're in the middle of September. I don't think there's any pitches anywhere in the country that haven't been used, but it's normally a good pitch here in Derby, and these two will be looking to make use of the power play.
So change of field, a deep cover now goes out to Danny Wyatt. She's so strong through that offside, but still a deep mid wicket in play, and a slip. Deepti Sharma, hands on her knees, ready as that she's in, bowls, and that's cut nicely past the backward a point. Deep cover's coming round. She's very quick, but she doesn't get there. Danny Wyatt's first ball, she hits a 4. 9 without loss, England.
I think if Danny Wyatt could ask for a ball to be bowled first ball, it would be that, basically. A little bit of width, able just to use the pace, guide it through backward point. Deepti Sharma's been axed from slip, despite the fact I can't see what she's possibly done wrong.
Is it about getting your best fielder in the game? For Danny Wyatt, backward point, they might even Switch again. No, she's been brought round and scratching the grass where she should be. Sakura into Wyatt, and that's a good length and played in defence by Wyatt. That's the first over. 9 without loss, England.
Clearly she didn't look likely at slip. Didn't crouch down well enough. But that's a really good start from England. That should hopefully settle both of their nerves down. Just some good cricket shots. I think, like I said, at Durham, I felt like Dunkley in particular really tried to force it, possibly a bit too much. You're only allowed 2 fielders out. All you've got to do is kind of beat the infield or pierce the infield, and it's 4. And she's such a good timer of the ball, as was showed by that 4 through kind of wide long on.
So we're going to be opening with spin from the other end. Deepti Sharma will have the ball in hand. At the moment they've got 3 fielders outside the circle, which isn't allowed, so they're just adjusting that. They're going to have a long off and a deep mid wicket to Sophia Dunkley, a slip in play, and it's Sneh Rana in there, just poised ready in that wide stance. Sheeny takes some good catches at slip, Anya. She loves a specky in that position, but we got a ring field on the offside. Long off, mid wicket, mid on, hunting. She bowls, advances, and that's bolder! Or is that stumped? I can't quite see, but either way, Dunkley tried to advance, hit over the onside, and Dunkley is dismissed. 9 for 1 England. Dunkley gone for 5.
It's an ideal start for Deepti Sharma. I think up at Durham she was bowling wide of off stump, almost at the wide line, and I just felt like that wasn't the way to go for her. She's a better bowler than that, and it seems here with this field she's going to bowl straighter, and she's got a reward straight away.
Yeah, that was stumped by the keeper. Rika Ghosh, good take, and Dunkley's gone back to the pavilion for 5. She'll be disappointed with that, but you know she's going to play one way, and that's go hard at these Indian players. But in comes Alice Capsey. Had the pleasure of playing with her at the Oval Invincibles, and she is a phenomenal cricketer, and she's got a bright future ahead of her, that's for sure. When she hits the ball, it stays hit, and England will want to see more of that here today, and so will the crowd. You hear the applause as she walks into bat.
She just has a confidence about her that kind of belies her age, to be honest with you. She walks out to the middle and she just looks like she's going to score runs all the time, and I think that's half the battle.
Yeah, and when you're in form as well, you've got that confidence. She has that at the moment. Sweatband on her arm. She's poised as Sharma bowls, and in defence just pushes to extra cover. Will be no run. Had a look at that first delivery from Sharma.
I'm really pleased to see Deepti Sharma bowling straighter, attacking the stump. She's a better bowler than bowling at the wide line. She's a real wicket-taking off-spinner.
Sharma into Capsey, off the back foot, worked out to a deep mid-wicket for a single. Capsey's off the mark. 10 for 1 England. And she's a clever bowler, isn't she? She varies her pace, she varies her lengths that she bowls, and that does make it tricky for the batters.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, she's a really canny operator. She's someone I really enjoy watching bowl because of how she goes about it. She really can outthink a batter, outwit a batter, and she's someone who's really important to this Indian team.
It's a deep cover and deep mid-wicket for Danny Wyatt as she bowls. That's width outside the off-stump, cut nicely, but the fielder at deep cover comes round, so it'll just be a single. But again, that width to Danny Wyatt. She'll be enjoying that. 11 for 1 England. Change of field again. To Capsey, they favour a long on and a deep mid-wicket, and that offside field up. Sharma just adjusting her mid-wicket, making sure she's nice and tight on that single. It's Deepti Sharma past the umpire Sue Redfern, again worked into that vacant mid-wicket. Run the first one hard, but it will just be a single. Fielded well out there by Smriti Mandana. 12 for 1 England. He played with a lot of these players, Anya, for the Southern Brave. You got Mandana, Dunkley, Wyatt.
Oh, it's great to see them all, but I guess it means that Mandana's got some intel on some of the batters.
Sharma in bowls, width again to Wyatt, and she's cut out to that deep cover sweeper. It will just be a single. Wyatt to 6, 13 for 1. That's 2 overs gone.
You really see Deepti Sharma there trying to get the ball into the pitch, not allowing, I guess, any flight for either Danny Wyatt or Alice Capsey to use their feet. They're both batters who want to use their feet and hit the ball down the ground, and Sharma gave them absolutely nothing to work with there. It's a really well thought out, well executed over.
You said how she's a clever cricketer. You can see that, how she's gone about that over and how she's changed her field, how she's manipulated the line. She bowled to 2 very different batters.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to be able to have multiple plans that you can bowl to different batters, and that's the sort of level you've got to be at international cricket.
Thakur then will bowl this 3rd over from the media centre end into Wyatt. That's an outside edge, caught at first slip. Danny Wyatt was playing in defence, and that ball's nipped away from her, and a great catch at first slip.
It's a really sharp catch. It came quite quick, came really low down, and clearly they got the right person in there.
Do you reckon it's one of those? The England team had an X-Factor competition about who to go into slip, but that's certainly a great catch low down to her left in a full squat position. It would have almost hit her on the boot had she not got her hands there. But India have been impressive here. 13 for 2 England, and that aggressive power play they were going with hasn't started well, but interesting move. Bryony Smith coming to the crease at 4.
Yeah, it's something that Bryony, at the start of the summer, Bryony I guess batted in what is now the Alice Capsey position, coming in at 3 if they lost a wicket in the power play, and I guess Capsey took first dibs at that, but it looks like it's something they want to keep persevering with. Bryony is someone who in domestic cricket bats at the top of the order. She's used to batting in the power play, and England will want her to come in and do what she does in domestic cricket here.
Is there a limit on that? I'll ask you this after this first delivery to Bryony Smith. Her long sleeve shirt on as she bowls, and that's worked into the onside, the cool weight there, so be no. Because obviously if you lose 3 wickets in a T20 power play, you'd say as a bowling team you've won that, and I guess England are making precedent here by sending Bryony Smith in. They still want to go hard, they still want to attack this power play, but should they lose another wicket going hard, surely India are right in the game.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an element of management. These two want to be positive, but they've got to find a way to manage the rest of the power play here.
Thakur into Smith again, bowls. That's hit nicely out to the cover sweeper by Bryony Smith. Slight misfield, but will be for no extra run.
I think were Nat Siver and Heather Knight to be here and playing, I would expect to see Nat Siver still striding out at 4. I think this is a good move. It's a role that Bryony is comfortable with, batting in the power play. It's what she's used to. She's not used to being a middle order batter, so I absolutely see the kind of rationale and the logic behind doing it here. But these two, like we say, they have to be positive whilst taking minimal risk.
As easy as that. There's Thakur in. That's width outside the off stump, cut to backward point. Will be no run. These two as well are used to batting with each other at South East Stars. That's their regional structure that they're part of. But it's a good opportunity this for Bryony Smith. She's got a lot of overs to bat, and she really could. Obviously Capsey took that role on in the South African series, but she could put her name in to say, actually no, I should be more in contention too. The floodlights are on, some blue skies with some clouds in the distance, as that's a player miss outside the off stump through to the keeper. Will be no run. 14 for 2. The crowd, good crowd in. They were staggered around mainly in front of the pavilion, as you tend to see here at Derby. Some in front of us, directly behind the bowler's arm. That's Thakur. She wipes her hand into her trousers and poises herself at the top of her mark, past the umpire and into Capsey, and that's driven past the extra cover. That's hit nicely, just timed. Deep covers coming round, fantastic dive and stop and thrown in. They want a third, and Capsey's halfway down the wicket. This could be a run out, and she's gone. That was a big confusion from both Smith and Capsey. Capsey wanted 3 runs. Bryony Smith didn't move, and Capsey's walking back to the pavilion. Didn't look like there was a third there.
No, it didn't. It's just a mix-up. I think it's a brilliant bit of fielding by Radha Yadav out in the boundary. You can see I think it's very noticeable from the get-go how energetic India are here in the field. Even easy ones that hit out to sweepers, they're charging in, getting the ball in over the top of the stumps, and a brilliant bit of fielding out on the boundary has created a mix-up here. It didn't look like there was 3 there. Alice Capsey stranded in the middle of the pitch.
I almost think, because the fielder out on the boundary threw it from the floor, I feel like Capsey didn't realise the ball was already in the ring and sort of shuttled in by an extra cover, so she was assuming the ball was still out with the fielder that was on the boundary on the floor, who did a fantastic diving stop, to then realise the ball's in the ring. And they go for the third, as she's still looking out on the boundary before she realises it's in the ring. There was never a third run there. But a big mix-up for England, and they're in trouble here. 16 for 3. That's 3 overs gone, and India have started here superbly well.
What I would say watching that is I wouldn't say that neither Alice Capsey nor Bryony Smith ran the first 2 as hard as they could. Slightly lazy running that can sometimes cause that confusion, but an outstanding piece of fielding by Radha Yadav out in the boundary. She's the one who started that confusion, and England in some trouble.
Certainly are. And they're going to continue with spin. Deepti Sharma from the other end, as that's pulled away by Bryony Smith. She's timed that well. Fielded well in the deep again by India. Smith moves to 2, and the score's 17 for 3.
There's a real intensity to India and their fielding that was lacking up in Durham, and it's really putting pressure on England here.
It's really good to see as well. That's the standards we want to see, and we know India are a fantastic side. A lot of talented cricketers in there. It's going to be a good series. The Sharma bowls, and that's worked into mid-wicket, upish, but out to the vacant area, so will just be a single. Even the way they're throwing the ball back into the bowler, it's all got purpose today. 18 for 3. Bryony Smith and Amy Jones, the England captain, at the crease. Deepti Sharma, right arm off spinning again into the pitch, and that's cut, but only to cover, so will be no run. The offside up in the circle. Bryony, just a long on and a deep mid wicket. India still aggressive, still got that slip in. The Sharma bowls, and that's in defence and pushed into the offside. Again, no run. It's that clever bowling you were saying there from Sharma, varying her pace. 3.4 overs gone, 18 for 3 England. England are 1-0 up in the first game as Sharma in bowls, and that's dummied mid-wicket in the circle, so they come through for a single. Smith to 3, 19 for 3 England. But this is an important game, isn't it, for India? Obviously it's a 3-match T20 series. They're 1-0 down. It will really make that third one a thriller at Bristol later this week. Sharma again poised at the top of her mark, bowls to Jones. It's slower, and that's worked up to mid-on. A cry of catch it. It's into a vacant area. 20 for 3 then, 4 overs gone. This is India's power play so far.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think if I was India and I was looking at this series, it's obviously an inexperienced England team with an inexperienced captain, quite an inexperienced bowling attack, and all of those kind of things. I'd be looking at this series thinking that there's a team there that they can really challenge and they can really beat, and they just didn't really turn up in Durham is the honest reflection. But they look like they've kind of regrouped, come here to Derby, and they are right on it.
Interestingly, they're going to give Thakur a third over. So you don't often see that. The captains tend to vary their bowlers in the power play, but they're sticking with Thakur. She bowls, and that's worked into an empty mid-wicket by Amy Jones for a single. She'll move to 3, 21 for 3.
Her main asset is her swing, and I think whilst the ball's still swinging a bit, picked up a wicket in the last over. I can completely understand why Harmanpreet Kaur has decided to give her another over here. If they get one more wicket, they're already on top, but they'll be even more on top.
Again, Thakur scurrying in and bowls to Smith, who plays it back to her. Just trying to stay leg side of it, Smith, and gets into a bit of a tangle. 21 for 3. I look at this England lineup though. Obviously they bat deep. They've got players to come. Yes, inexperienced. We know it's an inexperienced side, but Maya Bouchier, Sophie Eccleston, we've seen some fantastic innings from her this summer, and Freya Kemp, who's young but can whack a long ball. So they have a strong middle order. Thakur into Smith, that's width, and that's hit hard out to a cover sweeper who comes round. Great diving stop again out there, and they come back for a couple. Fantastic work, applauded by all her teammates. 23 for 3.
They definitely have some power in that middle order, but I think there's a difference from coming in 120 odd for 4 with a few overs left to coming in at kind of 30 for 4 and needing to kind of build, I guess, that knowledge of how to build an innings, how to kind of go through the gears and all of those things that Sophie Eccleston, Freya Kemp don't have a lot of experience doing.
Thakur to Smith again, width, hit hard out to that cover sweeper again. Just a single this time. Smith will move to 6. 24 for 3 England. It's just the presence India have out there. The fielders just really look up for it. They're getting behind each other, and I mean, why wouldn't you be at 24 for 3? If I was that fielding team out there, we'd be very energised. The captain, Harmanpreet Kaur, extra cover, rallying her troops as Thakur into the England captain, Amy Jones, who back foot punches that out to deep cover. Will just be a single. 25 for 3. This is a big innings for Amy Jones as well. She's got the responsibility of captaincy, with obviously Heather Knight having surgery on her hip, Siva taking a break from the game, unexpected, but you really need that responsibility from her today. Thakur again scurrying in, bowls, and that's driven to extra cover. Caulfield's well and throws it back into the keeper, but a bit little untidily, but good intent. That's 5 overs gone. 25 for 3. A few more words from Anya Shrubsole, and you'll be joined by Henry Moran.
Yeah, it is a really important innings for Amy Jones, I think, for lots of reasons. England are obviously in a bit of strife and need someone to stand up. She's captaining, she'll want to kind of lead from the front, and also I think she'll be the first to admit she's probably a bit shy of runs in the last kind of 12 to 18 months, so she'll be desperate to get a good score and get England out of what is a bit of a hole.
Well, it is, Anya. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Nice to see you. And what's the old adage? If you lose 3 wickets in the power play, you only win about 10% of the time. So England do have a little bit of an uphill battle here. They do have batting to come, but it's not quite as deep an order as normal. As we see, start of a new over. And this is pushed by Jones off the back foot and stopped in the covers. We got fielders in the deep for this final power play over. Long on and deep mid wicket. So Jones will look to play against the spin and work that ball through the offside where there's no protection in the deep, out towards the driving range. Here comes deep. This is pushed away into the offside, and there won't be a run there. And the score remains at 25 for 3. The driving range is that little stand to our right that resembles a local driving range. Here's Dipti Sharma. Creeps in towards us. Amy Jones is waiting, and in the air, clears the keeper and the fielder at slip. It's going to rush down towards the boundary. It might just stop in front of the ropes. It does. Sneh Rana it is that'll pick up, and the score, rather fortuitously perhaps, moves on to 27 for 3. Anya, what do you make of that? It wasn't a shot of enormous aesthetic quality.
I think at this point they'll take 2 runs, to be honest. I don't think it matters exactly how they come. 2 runs is 2 runs when you're 25 for 3. I don't think you can be too picky.
Here comes Dipti Sharma again. Amy Jones is waiting, and Sharma is a big fan of that. I'm about to bowl, then decide I'm not going to. Normally, when she does that, she then bowls a really rank delivery that's hit to the boundary. not far from keeping a spreadsheet to detail how often this happens. And she's moving into bowl now. Amy Jones waits, lofts the ball away. It's a shot that clears Mardiner at mid-wicket, but it'll only bring the 1 run, so that is one that doesn't fulfil my normal theory. But do you know what I mean? I just always think, well, why do it? It seems to make her bowl worse.
Yeah, I understand a little bit what she's doing. The batter's moved, but yeah, I think normally it actually throws her off.
Feels that way. Right, here comes Deepti bowling to Smith, who drives through the offside. Will not pick up a run there because there's a good half stop by Harmanpreet in the covers. And the score 29 for 3. 1 ball left of the power play then. And India infinitely better in the field today because they were a little disappointing, I thought, at Chester Street.
I think that might be generous, Henry.
I'm in a generous sort of mood. Here is Deepti Sharma bowling to Jones. Whacks the ball back towards the India all-rounder, who does enough to stop the ball as it headed towards the stumps and Sue Redfern. Right then, 6 overs gone, 29 for 3. England having lost both openers Dunkley and Wyatt, and also Alice Capsey to a disappointing run out. What's been the cause of the early dominance for India, Anya? Has that been quality from the touring side?
I think they've bowled well. They've attacked the stumps more. Where I think at Durham, talked about Deepti Sharma bowling at the wide line, which I don't think plays to her strengths. They've attacked the stumps, and I think just the intensity they've brought with their fielding, how they've thrown themselves around. They've put pressure on the England batters that wasn't there the other day, and we get the run out from that. It's like an old-fashioned power play. You've got your 2 power play bowlers, bowl three overs at each end. I can't even begin to remember the last time I saw that happen.
Yes, it's a nice little throwback, isn't it? We're going to see Radha Yadav into the attack. So we see spin from in front of us, this media centre end, left arm round the wicket to bowl to Smith, who pushes the ball through the offside. That's nicely struck, threading the needle. The ball slowing up a little bit, but might just have enough on, and does, out towards the deep mid-wicket boundary. Commander in pursuit, arms and legs pumping, couldn't quite get there, and so 4 runs from the batter Bryony Smith, 33 for 3.
Well, hopefully just release a little bit of the tension, early boundary out of the power play, force India to think about what field they want. Lots of pointing happening.
Yeah, a little shuffle in the field. We've got long on in the form of Shafali Verma, long off as well, deep cover and a deep mid-wicket. As Radha Yadav bowls to Bryony Smith, clubs down the ground. Jones takes evasive action at the non-striker's end, and down below us Shafali Verma trots in to pick up with the sunglasses on the wrong side of her head, which tends to be the slightly less effective way of wearing them.
And upside down.
And upside down.
Apart from that.
Ramsey ideal. 34 for 3. Jones elegantly driving towards short extra cover. That's a really good stop though from Mardana, as a single is prevented. Probably would have been 4 actually. That 34 for 3. Jones looks around. They've got 2 fielders. We've got Harmanpreet Kaur at sort of very close in mid-on. Jones plays a reverse sweep, plays it nicely as well. Will beat the infield, should get 4 for this. Deepti Sharma in the wide brim patch is in pursuit, but will not cut that ball off. Heads down towards the executive boxes, and Jones picks up 4 runs with a really nicely executed reverse sweep.
That was a really good shot by Amy Jones, playing with the field, seeing if she can force India to make a change. One thing I would say, having watched Harmanpreet captain a lot, is there does tend to be a bit of ball following. You see Bryony Smith hit a ball out to deep cover, change of field, hit a ball down the ground, change the field. Amy Jones has played a reverse sweep now, kind of changed the field.
Radha Yadav bowling to Jones, lots of air on that, driven back at the bowler, who does well to stop the ball in her follow through, and then tests out that injured shoulder by hurling it as hard as she possibly can back towards the stumps. 1 ball left of the over. Do you think it'll be a good thing for Amy Jones to have this opportunity of a leadership role within the England side, albeit sort of not designed, I suppose? Here comes Radha Yadav bowling to Jones, deep in the crease, will pick up 1 out to deep cover, and the score 39 for 3 after 7.
I think potentially, yeah. I think sometimes it helps having more things to think about, because it means actually you've got less time to think about you and what you're doing and any runs you might be scoring or not scoring or all of those kind of things. Some people actually, in lots of respects, the distraction is better, and Amy may be one of those people who is. I think she'd be the first to admit that probably leadership isn't something that comes supernaturally to her. I think it's something she has to work at. She's naturally quite a quiet person. I'd imagine she'd be someone who would lead by example in terms of what she does and how she goes about things, as opposed to someone who's goes about it by what she says. Is my guess.
So there's not going to be the sort of shouting and the roaring in the dressing room to sort of run through a brick wall, but it's going to be like, this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to do it properly. Here comes Sneh Rana, off spinner from the far end of the ground, bowling to Jones deep in the crease, pushes the ball back to Rana. We say goodbye to Anya Shrubsole for the time being, and one World Cup winner from 2017 is replaced by another, as we see Lauren Winfield Hill joining us once again. Lauren, it was here that England actually lost their tournament opener in 2017 against India.
Yeah, God, that feels like a long time ago now.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a catalyst for that tournament, I think, that loss in the first game.
Here is Sneh Rana to bowl to Amy Jones. A little bit of width offered, and she's going to get 4. Clattering through the offside, and with no protection at deep cover, the ball, as soon as it beat the infield, was always likely to end up at the ropes, and that's exactly what happens. And Jones moves to 16, England 43 for 3.
Yeah, a bit of width on offer there. I think India have been good tonight with Dipti Sharma when they've attacked the stumps, tried to be aggressive on their line.
A little bit of a loosener from Sneh Rana, and Jones gobbled up the opportunity. Strong player off the back foot and picks up 4. She's on to 16. A lot of air offered, and that's a whip down the ground from the bat of the England captain to bring one more run. Radha Yadav fields in front of that single tier stand, uncovered beyond it the health centre, with a roof not unlike former US President Donald Trump's hair.
I was going to say ski slope.
Here comes Sneh Rana bowling to Bryony Smith, launches into the leg side. Oh, that's a poor drop, and it's going to bring 4 runs. Vastriko's a good fielder, ran in from deep wicket and almost seemed to run beyond the ball, burst through the hands, and it should have been a 4th wicket.
Yeah, she came charging in, didn't she? It was almost like she thought it was going to drop short of her and ran in, and it ended up bursting through her hands above her head in the end.
It's a poor drop, that.
It's a big drop as well. Bryony's just getting going here.
Hit down the ground, could be another opportunity straight away. Fielder running in, takes a really good diving catch. Well, there we go, it doesn't cost more than 4 runs. And Radha Yadav had to make up quite a lot of ground from long on, and takes a good low catch to see Bryony Smith gone for 16. England are 49 for 4. And another wicket falls.
Yeah, it's a real shame that for England and Bryony Smith. They're just getting a life. The ball previous, you'd hope that make India pay a little bit for that first drop, but it's a massive strength of Bryony Smith's. She's hitting down the ground, and she's a very good player of spin, but just didn't quite get all of it. And a really good catch diving forward there by Radha Yadav.
I always like a catch that ends up with the fielder wearing the hat in an amusing way. And Radha Yadav ended that up with a sort of jaunty angle, as if she might be the kid at school that slightly rebels against things. 48 for 4. So Maya Boucher comes to the middle. There's somebody else that might be quite keen on finding a little bit of form.
She always makes me laugh when you see Maya Boucher when she first comes to the crease, because she always looks petrified. But I've no doubt that she's not petrified, but she just has these glazed over eyes.
Nice, good.
Almost like she looks a bit shocked to be there.
What is it? Here comes Sneh Rana to bowl to Amy Jones, sweeping, missing. There's half an appeal for LBW, but it was going well down the leg side for my money. Almost as if she's come to me and said, Amy, I'm not quite sure why I'm here.
Can you tell me what's going on? No, that's just Maya Boucher though. She's just in her own world, but she's really quietly confident. She's a very, very good young batter, great ball striker.
Gives it a right old wallop.
She does. She's she hits the ball as clean as anybody.
It's quite a big opportunity actually for both of these players, because the early wickets that have fallen, England winning that first game by 9 wickets, meant that it was only the top 3 that got a bat, but we've seen 4 wickets fall. So this middle order that doesn't have the normal experience of Nat Siver there, Catherine Brunt, there's just a little bit of extra responsibility, and with responsibility comes opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that's somewhere where this England team, I think that happens quite frequently. You play a lot of series in between sort of global events, World Cups, and in those series in between, not many people get opportunity. But then when you get to the world stage in a World Cup, and you're suddenly asking multiple players to be in form.
It's a slip in place as Pooja Vastrika bowls on an inside edge almost onto the stumps as Bouchier gets a little lucky first ball.
And even beyond being in form, to win you games, you know, the middle order's often the part of the engine room that's there to get you over the line. So I think, you know, although England wouldn't want to be in this position of 48 for 4, that's really good exposure for this young middle order to have a bit of time in the middle and to get familiar with these situations.
Vastrika, 34 on her back, running away from us, bowling to Bouchier, pushes the ball with a straight bat past Vastrika, but not beyond Shefali Verma. So as it goes towards mid-on, there's no chance for a run. We've got the floodlights shining, there's a few wispy clouds overhead. Good crowd in at Derby. That stand in the distance is virtually full. Just a few little dots of white plastic, but pretty much full. There's a donut van I can see over to our left that's doing a roaring trade. As in comes Vastrika to bowl to Bouchier, hits down the ground, and that's a lovely shot. The on drive is one of the best looking shots in the game, and that, with just a little flick of the bottom hand, is played so well by Maya Bouchier. Goodness, what a piece of timing. 52 for 4.
Yeah, really good there by Maya Bouchier. Just a little shuffle down out of the crease, just trying to meet that length. That's a strong area for her. It's good to see her hitting high up the ground.
With mid-on and mid-off up, the ball, once it had enough pace and it was always going to beat the infield. There's a conversation between umpire Paul Pollard and Pooja Vastrika running on the pitch, perhaps? Either way, we're ready to go once again. Vastrika running into bowl with Bouchier on strike. This time it's chopped out towards deep cover and will be fielded on the boundary by Smriti Mandana, who said after the game at Chester Street she is considering not playing in this year's Big Bash League, looking to perhaps take a bit of a break. There's been a lot of cricket for players that have played in Commonwealth Games and overseas tours, the 100. But as she pointed out, it's what the women's game's been asking for, so in some ways she feels that she needs to keep playing. Here comes Vastrika bowling to Jones, who's deep in the crease, pushing into the offside, no run there. England remain 53 for 4 with a ball left.
Yeah,
this over
it's good this from Pooja Vastrika, because she set a really straight field, extra cover and mid-wicket are really tight, trying to get Amy Jones and Maya Bouchier to knock it across the line. She can just hold. We've seen shots are much more beneficial, lower risk down the ground here at Derby.
Jones has seen long off go out to the boundary and waits now for Vastrika. This is hit slightly aerially, bounces maybe 5 yards short of Shefali Verma at mid-on, and a dot ball to conclude the over. 9 have been bowled, the score 53 for 4. Lauren, I'm going to ask you a difficult question before Emily Windsor joins us. What will be enough for England, do you fancy, from this first innings?
Oh, good question. Where are we now?
53 for 4,
Yeah,
Lauren.
what do you double it and some? You want 135?
I feel like that would be a good game. I just look at the Indian lineup and the batting. They're dangerous. They bat deep. You've got Deepti Sharma carded to come in at number 8, who's more than capable with the bat.
Yeah, England might need a few more than that. I think there's certainly power down the order.
There's run in bowls, and that's worked to a fine leg. Will be no run.
you look at a Sophie Eccleston and a Freya Kemp, even Sarah Glenn has played that role really nicely in the past, and those two have got as good a strike rate as any of the sort of all-rounder lower order batters in the world.
As Rana comes to Bouchier, bowls, advances, hits up to long off for a single. Sensible batting from Bouchier. 54 for 4. I think the thing with the England batting lineup, we look at Eccleston, we look at Kemp, we talk about their strike rates, but we're only into the 10th over of the game. If they lose it, England lose another wicket now, they've got a long way to go and time to bat. As Rana in and reverse sweep and bowled. Amy Jones, the England captain, tried to reverse sweep Rana, and she's gone. You were the one who said
Emily
the
Windsor takes the wicket here at Derby.
England, though, in all sorts of trouble. 54 for 5. You felt Amy Jones had to be crucial, but a great delivery by Sneh Rana. Full. And Amy Jones is walking back to the pavilion, and the left-handed Freya Kemp.
Which I think it's an interesting choice, actually, because with the off spin on currently, obviously with the ball turning away from a left-hander, slightly more challenging than somebody like Sophie Eccleston with an off spinner coming into her arc a little bit. So it's interesting that they've gone with Freya Kemp over Sophie Eccleston with obviously the off spinner on now, but you know, we've got Deepti Sharma that can also come back on.
Right, without being too much of a commentator's curse here, I've played with Freya Kemp this year. She is a player that just never seems phased. She's only 17, but she has that confidence about her. I mean, like we were talking about Alice Capsey earlier, as Rana into Kemp, and that's hit back to her on the bounce, so will be no run. 54 for 5, and this is a good opportunity for her to show what she can do with the bat. She's left-handed, there's a slip in play. Deepti Sharma, India are on top. As Rana in advances, that's hit down the ground over the top of the bowler, and that'll be 4 runs. Freya Kemp, first boundary, 58 for 5.
Yeah, and I've played a couple of games with her for England Academy as well, and they're just made a bit different, aren't they, these youngsters? They just stride out, cool customers.
If we were
second
out there,
ball,
we'd be shaking, wouldn't we?
down the ground, cool as you like. But I think it's that no fear brand that's instilled in these young players.
High backlift into Kemp off the back foot, this time cut nicely out to a deep cover. That Kemp is quick between the wicket, and she comes back for 2 quite comfortably. Kemp will move to 6, 60 for 5 England, 10 overs gone. And I think the thing as well for Kemp, she would have batted with Bouchier before as well, so a little bit of reassurance there for her. But she's just, if I explained her, she's just a player that, she's a bowler as well. She'll bowl, she'll get hit for 4, and she just walks back to her mark like nothing's ever happened. She just seems so calm, so mellow. For a young 17-year-old cricketer, there's that body language out there as well. She looks like she's been out there for 50 years, Lauren.
She does. She looks chilled as anything, doesn't she? I think that's just a great attribute to have, isn't it? I think cricket dishes up a whole host of emotions and a roller coaster, and I think if you can stay somewhere near level, you go a long way.
Straka in, bowls, and that's driven nicely through extra cover. On the up, that ball, and that's split mid-off and extra cover. 4 runs to Bouchier. That's a statement of intent from her.
Yeah, that's lovely timing there by Maya Bouchier. On the up, driving with the ball on the up, right out the middle of the bat. It's a real trademark of hers, isn't it, to almost stand up tall on those drives.
64 for 5 then, England. It's to an important partnership. England, top order, not stood up today, and India are on top, but 2 young exciting batters can make a mark as Bouchier advances but finds Shafali Verma, who's attacking the ball at mid-on. Will be no run. That buzz in the Indian fielding has really been there today.
Yeah, they've been much improved tonight, haven't they? They've been up and about, they've attacked the ball, they've had good intent, good energy, taken most of their chances.
Luckily, the one that was put down was Bryony Smith on 16. She got out the ball after. Caught at long on. Just a change of field, so third comes into the circle and they're sending Shafali Verma back at long on. I think that's a good move for someone like Boucher, who's going to look to hit hard down the ground. There's a Starker, 34 on her back in bowl, slower ball, and that's hit out to the cover sweeper. Will just be a single. Boucher will move to 11, 65 for 5 England. I feel like India have bowled well here as well. Tight lines, made it hard for the England batters to get after them.
Yeah, it's something that India, they flick between the two. I think historically they always used to sort of hang it and bowl quite wide, and that worked really effectively in Indian conditions where it turns this low bounce. It's often harsher outfields to hit through, but they've always had more success when they've bowled straighter.
The Starker into the left-handed Kemp, who works that down to a fine leg. Boucher runs hard, shy at the stumps. The keeper does well, parrying it back to them, but it'll be a single in the end. I feel like with these two, we're going to expect a lot of quick singles. 66 for 5.
Yeah, and that might be the reasoning behind putting Freya Kemp up there, is to, go and have a bit of a go, but also she's very quick between the wickets. She's very athletic, great fielder, just a good all-round athlete.
She stood at the non-strikers end now with her hand on her hip, as chilled as you like. There's a Starker in, slower ball, that's heaved into the onside. One bounce, 4 by Maya Boucher. It's finding the middle of her bat today, that's for sure. She moves to 15, 70 for 5.
Yeah, lovely clinical shot there by Maya Boucher. You've got deep square out in front, long on, and she's split it right down the middle. Lovely piece of timing.
The crowd enjoyed that one. Children and adults all in there. There's a little child eating some pizza as she watches Maya Boucher advance, and this time works it behind square. They're going to want 2 here, and they'll get 2 quite comfortably. In fact, it might even be 4. They come back. Oh, mix up. Freya Kemp said yes, then no. But in the end, they settle for 2, and Kemp holds her hands up to apologise to Boucher. England don't want another mix-up. 72 for 5, India. Good evening.
Good evening, how are you doing?
You must be very happy here from an Indian perspective.
Yes, I am. I mean, especially looking at the intent and how India have, kind of switched on in this game. We didn't really see the real Indian side in the last game. I thought they were like too flat, bad ball fielding, but good to see them back and the usual self.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't give you an introduction. Joined by Deep. That's good to give us an Indian perspective here. And as you said, it's been really, really impressive. 11 overs gone, 72 for 5. As Yadav left arm over bowls, and Freya Kemp hits that hard down the ground. There's a long on and long off. Who will cut this off, so keep it to a single. Kemp's happy with just the one. She moves to 8, 73 for 5.
Yeah, I wonder if Harman can come and bowl a few overs herself, now that you have a left-hander out there as well in Kemp. Maybe get in a couple of overs, and that's something that I said before the game as well. In fact, last game when I looked at that playing 11, Pooja Vastakar used to be really good with in terms of her pace and bowling. Now she's more of a batting all-rounder.
Yadav just getting her field right, as we got a right hand, left hand combination, which is a captain's worst nightmare and a bowler's worst nightmare as well. As Yadav in, and that's down the leg side, fielded beautifully at fine leg and shy at the bowler's end, but they come through for a comfortable single. Again, impressive from India. Their field in 74 for 5.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you got to look at someone like Pooja Vastakar more of your 6th bowling option. Can't be one of the top 5 bowlers. So I guess maybe now that there's a left-hander, Harman can come in and bowl a couple.
Yadav in advances, that's hit hard down the ground, a cry of catch it, and it's gone over her head. 6 runs to the young Freya Kemp, 17 years of age. She's taking it all in her stride. She moves to 14 off 6, 80 for 5 England.
A good strong hit from Kemp. And the feature so far in her innings, which is a really short one as of now, 14 of 6, is using her feet really well against the spin. Again, she steps out, reaches the pitch of the ball, and a very, very strong hit down the ground. Kiran Navgre, the fielder, she's quite tall, couldn't reach it.
Yadav in again off the back foot this time. She hits it into her own foot and limps away to the umpire. It'll be a dot ball. That's one of those you got to shake it off, haven't you? Don't rub it moment. She smiles out there and poises herself to go again. Stick to running down the pitch, Freya Kemp, as Yadav in again. She moves down but changes her mind. Again, a dot ball for India. Clever bowling from Yadav.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a fairly decent over apart from that particular delivery where she was hit for a 6. She's been very canny in the way she's used the pace.
Kemp gives herself room and finds deep mid-wicket. Harmanpreet Kaur dive into her right. Another dot ball, 12 overs gone, 80 for 5. What do you feel? I'm going to ask you from an Indian perspective. Obviously, they've had a fantastic start. What do they want to restrict England to have a good chance of chasing it down here?
Listen, I'll be looking at 135, 140. Obviously, England also bat deep. You have got good hitters down the order as far as England is concerned. So, yeah, I mean, 135, 130, 135 would be all right.
We were talking off air, weren't we, as well, about how deep India bat. In this lineup, you've got Deepti Sharma, for instance, carded to come in at number 8.
Radha at 10. She can bat.
So India definitely have the firepower and the talent in their order. As the opening bowler, Kaur, comes back into the attack for her final over. She's got bowled 1 for 17 off her 3 so far. And those 3 were all in the power play. As she bowls to the right-handed Boucher 4, and that's worked to a vacant mid-wicket. And just be a single. Intent again from these 2 running that first one hard. Boucher to 19, 81 for 5.
Yeah, and this is something that she's starting to bowl more often. The slow delivery, the back of the hand. Obviously, she's got that kind of an action where that back of the hand slow comes rather a little more naturally. But what a revelation she has been for India last year or so. I mean, especially the Commonwealth Games, and then here was brilliant in the last game as well. One of the only bright spot in that game for India.
Staying right arm over then to Kemp, who advances and hits hard but can only find extra cover. Brilliantly fielded, and the throw back to the keeper's end, backed up smartly by Deepti Sharma. Again, great intent in the field. 81 for 5. She really impressed me in that first T20 up at Durham. Actually, she didn't get any wickets, but she obviously created chances, and she just looks, especially with that new ball, the ball shaping into the right hander, that she does have that wicket taking option. She's a talented cricketer, that's for sure. She scurries in again to Kemp, and that's hit high down over mid-wicket, and that's another 6 by Freya Kemp. In her arc by Thakur, and that is a strike. She's on to 20 off 11, 87 for 5.
She's playing a blinder here, 20 of just 11. A counter-attacking innings from Kemp so far, and she's been absolutely brilliant. This was a little fuller, slower again. Tried that back of the hand, didn't come out as well as she would have liked it, Renuka, but was in the arc, as you said, and it's out of the park.
And the crowd enjoyed that one. They want to see more of that. It's Thakur in again. She advances, hit hard down the ground this time, and that's as straight as you can get without hitting the stumps, and that's 4 more runs to Freya Kemp. 21 off 12, 91 for 5, and a 17-year-old coming out and playing like this.
Wow, I mean, this is really a brilliant innings. And obviously hasn't seen much, most of the Indian bowlers, but they got to quickly assess what she's trying to do here, not try and bowl full. So far, anything that has been full has been hit for a boundary, so just maybe go back off length a bit now.
She comes in again, and back of a length it is, but finds extra cover. Will be no run. She looks up to the sky in frustration that one's not gone. Soaring over the boundary for 6. It's just, she just looks so comfortable.
Yeah, and this is amazing, and this is what, franchise cricket does to you. You mentioned 17-year-old, but she's played 100 for a while, Vitality Blast, played with all these top players in the world.
Thakur into Kemp, this time whipped outside the off stump, but it's signalled a wide by the umpire. A good option though. Going wider to Kemp, not in her arc, and she walks as far, almost to square leg, about 3 strips
if she wants to bowl that line, then she might as well get another fielder on the offside and boundary. I mean, maybe deep point or a wide-ish third.
They're caught. Final ball of the 13th over into Kemp, and that's hit hard up to long off. They're running the first one hard. Boucher thinks about 2, but the answer was no. So Kemp moves to 25 off 14. 13 overs gone, 93 for 5, and this innings really has been game-changing for England, because since she's come out to bat, the intent's really been put back on India, and 93 for 5 off 13 overs, you're thinking, that's not bad.
That's not bad, and the pressure's back on the Indian bowlers now. I mean, if Kemp manages to stay there for another few overs, then suddenly that 135, 140 starts looking more like 160 then. And that's where I think, obviously, the captain would be wary about it, so would be the bowlers. And as you mentioned rightly, the pressure's back on the Indian bowlers every time she's on strike.
The other thing as well that she adds, the complexity of a left-hand, right-hand combination. You've then got to be, as a captain, you've got to think one step ahead as a fielding team. Angles and have to be readjusted. As we got spin into the attack, Yadav again, and that's outside the off stump, cut out to a deep cover, just be a single.
Yeah, that's sensible bowling. Just making her play more through the offside, not bowling in her arc. Well, she's been brilliant in that long on mid-wicket region. Just try and stay away from that. Be a little back of the length, let her play through maybe point or covers.
Rana, 2 for 17 so far. She comes in again to Boucher, who advances and hits up towards long on for a single. And again, with Boucher, this is sensible batting from her, isn't it? Just getting Kemp off on strike and saying, off you go again, you can clear the ropes, I'll just get you back on strike, I'll stay at the other end.
And she's doing all right herself. 20 or 14, not bad. And this is a really important partnership. And suddenly, I mean, we were talking about last over as well, the pressure's on Indian bowlers. They need a wicket, they need to break this partnership.
95 for 5 then. There's Rana, the off spinner in, and that's wide outside the off stump. That would have been a wide if Freya Kemp hadn't hit it. But it'll be a single. She moves to 27, 96 for 5.
That's smart bowling, because she was stepping out, and I think Sneh Rana saw that and fired it outside off stump, but does well to reach it, Kemp. That was really wide outside off stump.
Rana into Boucher again, bowls off the back foot into a vacant mid-wicket. They're going to push here. Freya Kemp's quick between the wickets, and she says no. Sorry, I got slightly distracted that previous ball. I wasn't sure which game I was commentating on, whether it was Henry Moran playing some lovely forward defences. Well, actually, what I witnessed was a left-handed hoik, which definitely didn't look like how Freya Kemp was batting. But we've got games going on either side of us, Steve, as Kemp bowls, and that's a player miss outside the off stump, and they're appealing because Kemp looked up to the crease and they're going to send it upstairs. She could have lifted her foot up here at the wrong time.
Come up on screen.
We'll just hear the voice.
Third umpire to director.
The third umpire, Russell Warren.
Stumping. It's a fair delivery.
What would you like first, Bob?
Can I go front on first, please?
I think we're going to see all angles again, as we usually do for the third umpire. What were your impressions
Front
here,
on coming
Deep?
up on screen now.
Looks unlikely.
Could be a wrong timing kind of step, wouldn't it?
Would be really unlucky.
Yep, thank you.
Kemp.
She's ready to bat again. No one else is ready, but she's ready. We have to watch her front on.
Thanks. Can we just have ultra edge just in case, please? Just to make sure there's no bat and ball on the way through.
I think that's out.
You think? I think she
Thanks,
dragged
just
her
roll that
foot.
through.
Did she lift it
Yep,
at all?
thank you.
Her
See if
back
I can go
foot?
to your best side on, please.
I think she lifted her foot then.
You think? All right. That's a good angle.
Thank
the
you.
side
Just
angle.
roll it through
Dragged.
and hold it there.
She dragged it.
Thank you very much. I'm ready to make my decision to the screen.
And that's why you're in the summariser seat and you know far more than me. Oh, that's a relief for England, that's for sure. Her facial expression that it's froze on as well is interesting. We just wait for the confirmation. Not out.
Yeah.
Good though from India. Smart keeping.
Yeah, Richa. Yeah, that was smart of her. I mean, awareness. I mean, just there was a possibility that she could have lifted her foot. Well, why not? Take a chance.
One ball remains then of this 14th over. England 97 for 5, and she bowled to the left-handed Kemp off the back foot, who hits to extra cover and misfield. So they come through for a single. Kemp will keep the strike again. She moves to 28 off 18, 98 for 5, and we'll have a change in the commentary box. It's been a pleasure to have Deep alongside us. We'll be joined by Lauren Winfield-Hill. You must be loving watching these two young batsmen go about their business here.
Yeah, what do I know? I said I thought it was interesting that Freya Kemp came out ahead of Sophie Eccleston with the off-spinners operating as they were, but she's played with... Well, we've seen this a lot from her, haven't we, in domestic cricket, in the 100. She's such a clean strike of the ball, and she just doesn't look phased. She's the sort of player that you can use in these scenarios, isn't she, to just give a little bit of impetus.
She's changed the momentum. The score now 98 off 14, albeit 5 down, but off 14 overs. That's a good score. And Freya Kemp showing it's a good pitch. The England top order blown away. Danny Wyatt for 6, Sophia Dunkley 5, Alice Capsey for 2, Bryony Smith 16, Amy Jones 17. But these two, Maya Bouchier 21 not out at the non-strikers end of 15 deliveries, and Freya Kemp, 17-year-old, 28 off 18. The left-handed player, as a Starker, comes in, and that's outside the off-stump, driven hard down the ground. Shafali Verma at mid-off comes round, so it will just be a single. But everything that hits Kemp's bat just seems to fly off the middle.
Yeah, I think that's been a real strength of this innings, and strength of her batting is that she's quite orthodox. She just hits down the ground, but what she can do is she's got the ability to clear the deep fielders, you know, and hit genuinely big. You know, we got on the wrong side of a few at the Oval in the 100. She's, you know, she can clear the ropes.
99 for 5 then England in the 15th over. There's Straka into Bouchier bowls, full delivery, and that's a single up to long off. Again, smart batting by Bouchier. 100 up then for England. The Derby crowd applauds. Freya Kemp just looks like she's got business to do. Bat on her shoulder, hand by her side. She just looks ready. Mid-on in the circle. A very straight long off. Directly under us in the media centre. That's width outside the off stump, and that will be wide.
You can see what she's trying to do here. She's got third man back, trying to execute that wide Yorker, close down Freya Kemp's scoring opportunities. It's funny, I just nipped next door to speak to Harry, who does the digital for the England team, and he was saying that a few of the girls went out for coffee yesterday and Freya couldn't go because she had to do schoolwork.
That's unlike Freya to be doing schoolwork, I'm telling you that from experience.
She must be behind in already.
She's not one that will want to sit and do schoolwork, that's for sure. But there's one thing for certain, that she's got a very bright future ahead of her. And England colours a left arm seamer as well. We'll see her, I'm sure, in the second innings. Just a little delay as they're putting sawdust down on the crease. It's always a fun job, that. You want to be that person to carry the sawdust. There's a Sharka back in again. That's hit down the ground. Cry of catch it. Verma was very straight. Bouchier's going to think about 2, and Kemp's getting frustrated at her as to why she didn't. She wants to strike, but they settle for a single. 102 for 5.
Yeah, I wonder if there was 2 there. Shafali Verma, she's not the quickest, although she's got a very good arm. She's not the quickest changing direction.
Sharka again poised at the top of her mark. The field changes because there's now a right hander on strike, Maya Bouchier, as she's in, and that's hit hard down the ground. Shafali Verma will have to do the fielding again. Kemp's running that first one hard. Bouchier, just body language here, looking up to the sky, looking frustrated. I feel she needs to just breathe for a bit. They've done a good job from where they were.
Yeah, I think this is the hard bit as a batter. As a registered batter, when you've got an all-rounder coming in as well, you think, oh God, I should be striking it the same as what she is, but I think you've got to recognise the value of that partnership.
Striker in, that's outside the off stump again, but only finds extra cover. There'll be no run. Clever from India. I feel like they've reacted very quickly. Obviously Kemp they wouldn't have bowled at before. They don't know what her strength, but it's quite clear if you bowl it in her arc, if you bowl it in her area, it was going to go over the ropes. But they've reacted here, haven't they, and adjusted their line and a new plan.
Yeah, they have. It's interesting actually because there's nobody from square leg all the way round to deep third.
Straka in again to Kemp outside the off stump again, and a play and miss outside the off stump. Seems to be a very effective plan. 103 for 5 England. Bouchier 23 not out, Kemp 30 not out, and you'll hear a few more from Lauren Winfield Hill, and you'll be joined by Henry Moran.
And it's smart from India. They've seen that she's very strong down the ground. Vastrika just executing Yorkers really well there. And I guess if you're looking forward, that'll be something that Freya Kem will be looking to potentially evolve her game, is then can you access different parts of the ground? Can you paddle? Can you step inside of it and pick up over square leg? Because credit to India, they have reacted in the moment there and gone to plan B pretty quickly.
Bouchier deep in the crease, chopping the ball towards Harmanpreet Kaur, the India captain, in the covers. The shadows just beginning to show from those floodlights that are dotted around. This grounding comes. Yadav as Bouchier will pick up at least one out towards deep mid-wicket. They might turn for a second. It could be 4 this. No, a brilliant piece of fielding out there in the deep. And India today have been outstanding in the field, I have to say. Given the criticism that came their way after the game at Chester Street, they've been really, really good. There is the 50 partnership though. 51 from 37 between Kemp and Bouchier, who's on to 25. This has given a lot of air. Whipped away. Could be a catch. No, put down. Fielder at mid-wicket. Went up. It went quickly, but it was probably a 6 out of 10 chance. You'd hope to take that, but it's been put down by Kira.
Yeah, and it's one of those opportunities where this partnership's building nicely, ticking along, looking to accelerate in the back end of this innings, and if you get a new batter at the crease now, just stems that momentum a little bit.
Bouchier waits, right-hander. It's a low full toss, whip towards mid-wicket. Throw comes in at the non-striker's end with Kemp halfway down the track, but she's safely back in her ground. What are you spotted, was it?
Well, Harmanpreet Kaur's taking absolutely no prisoners there and made the change straight away after that drop chance opportunity.
Oh, yes. Bouchier gives herself some room, takes a bit of a chance exposing those stumps. Like a piece of fielding from Sneh Rana, diving at cover. And Bouchier looks frustrated, but she's played a good hand here. 27 from 22.
Right away after that drop chance opportunity.
Oh, yes. Bouchier gives herself some room, takes a bit of a chance exposing those stumps. Like a piece of fielding from Sneh Rana, diving at cover. And Bouchier looks frustrated, but she's played a good hand here. 27 from 22. Still wearing an expression of slight surprise to be out there. As she waits now. Left arm spin from Rudder. This is whacked away into the leg side. That's not a great piece of fielding. The ball could make it to the ropes, but the efforts of Vastrika will prevent that. Should have been stopped inside the circle, and Bouchier will get back for 2. I only say that about Maya Bouchier because she has that sort of wide-eyed, sort of staring down the track.
Yeah, that's what I mean when you see her stride out and you see her either out in the middle or on the screen. It's like an element of surprise of, okay, well, what have we got here then?
It's innings that I think that they've not needed, but certainly just a reminder, because there is such talent coming through that we've seen in the last couple of months in the 100, and there's so many players that are knocking on the door that if you get a chance to bat a decent amount of time in a T20, to go out there and bat with patience and keep that scoreboard going and actually rescue England a bit, because they were early on in this innings in a little bit of strife with those 3 early wickets falling to leave the score at 16 for 3, then it was 48 for 4 and 54 for 5, but now at 109 for 5 things are looking a lot better for England. Kemp is smacking that ball towards the fielder at short cover, and there'll be no run there because it is stopped efficiently enough by Hamalatha.
Just a good little spell here from India, just executing really nicely to Freya Kemp, just slowing her down a little bit. I think this is important where it's that game management of not everything has to go for a boundary.
That one might, as it's hit away through the offside. No, another really excellent piece of fielding. And as the throw comes in, you'll have to forgive the slight surprise in my voice, just given what we saw the other day, where that would have been 4 every day, but a brilliant piece of fielding in the offside. Once again, it's Darlan Hemalatha that has prevented 4 runs, and England are 110 for 5.
Yeah, it's polar opposites, isn't it, for what was presented the other night to this evening. I think the biggest thing is just their commitment, isn't it? They're diving on everything, they're chasing everything down.
Deepti Sharma dropped it short. This is thrashed away, will bring 4 runs. Boucher quickly thrashing the hands through the ball, and it goes flying over the fielder at point, down towards the boundary, where I can see on the balcony the pink and white 4 signs are being waved, and the score 114 for 5. Boucher into the 30s.
Yeah, just a little bit of width there from Deepti Sharma. Maya Boucher dissects the fielders, catching height but split the 2.
Here comes Deepti again in the long sleeves, past the umpire. Boucher comes to meet that ball and will pick up a single towards Verma at long on. Boucher's on 34, Kemp on 31, England 115 for 5. Keep off the wicket, both of you. Here's the message from umpire Paul Pollard on our stump microphones. Let me tell you, you can watch this game live on BBC Two right now. Isha Guha and Ali Mitchell and the team. Freya Kemp chases a wide delivery. He's going to get runs here, probably just a single. Might push for the second. Throw comes in, and that's good running from Boucher, who set off quickly. And the score moves to 117 for 5. Already Maya Boucher's best effort with the bat in an England T20 international, previous best 25 that she got on debut at Hove last year against New Zealand. 117 for 5. Final ball of the 17th over sees Kemp walloping the ball towards wide long off. Your expression.
I just let a noise out there, but I forgot I was on radio for a second. It just crunched out. Yeah, she just absolutely crunched that, didn't she? It does, like Emily Windsor was saying earlier. Everything seems to just be timed so well.
She's 17, Freya Kemp, and is playing brilliantly well. And we saw this a few times in the 100 for the Southern Brave, that back end of an innings, sometimes in a run chase where there was not so much pressure on, but also first innings for important late order runs. It's coming in and from the off, it's timing it brilliantly.
Yeah, she's just got a really good eye. Simple technique, stands still. It's pretty orthodox, but just strikes it so cleanly.
Start of a new over. It's back towards the bowler Radha Yadav from the far end of the ground. From the bat of Kemp. And the score 118 for 5. Yadav creeping in. And this is a loopy delivery outside the off stump that Kemp just drives down the ground for 1. The score moves to 119 for 5. Freya Kemp born in 2005. I know, Lauren, I know.
Yeah. Just another noise.
Boucher swinging hard. Has she been stumped there? Yes, given. No need to go upstairs. Boucher looking to launch into the leg side, and sharp work from Rika Ghosh with plenty of loop on that delivery from Sneh Rana. Boucher wallops the bat against the pads, looks frustrated, but she has done a really good job for England here. Gone for 34. The partnership broken, and England 119 for 6.
Yeah, really clever bowling there by Sneh Rana, just holding it back, taking a little bit of pace off. Smart work there behind the stumps.
She'll take that though. Boucher as an innings, I think, given not pressure but certainly opportunity, and she's played really nicely. Gets a good hand as well. Heads off the field to be replaced. I think that is Sarah Glenn who's coming out to the middle, or Sophie Eccleston, one of the two. It is Sophie Eccleston.
Thought it was more likely to be Sophie Eccleston. This
both-
is in her territory now.
Yeah. How many deliveries have we got left? We've got 15 balls left in the innings. And an absolute licence to give it a good old wallop.
She's actually, I recall a few big hits here. I think it was against West Indies. Sophie Eccleston cleared the ropes a couple of times. She's got a big smile on her face, laughing and joking with the keeper there.
Got a good strike rate as well. 151.8 in T20 cricket.
That's what you want,
Very
isn't
good.
it? When you, especially as you get down the order here, you might only face 5-10 balls max quite often.
Rana bowling to Eccleston. He's happy just to nudge that into the leg side, get Kemp on to strike. England move to 120 for 6. She's got a bat that has got a lot of tape on it. That makes me think that she's had that bat for quite a while and she likes it.
She's a proper batter now, isn't she?
Oh, yeah.
This is my number one. She'll have several now.
It's Kemp on strike. Again, the ball sort of speared across her and she drives forcefully down the ground towards Mandana at long off. And a single taken, 1-2-1 for 6.
I feel like, actually, Sophie Eccleston's had this bat, and every series she says, oh, this bat's going to go soon, it's going to go soon, but it's really good.
She waits now and pushes that ball into the ground. Didn't sound very good there, but I think you probably blame the worker rather than the tools on that occasion. And as it goes towards cover, there'll be no run. 1-2-1 for 6, 2 overs left in the innings. When you get a new bat, how much like getting to know it, you know, how long before you know this is an absolute belter?
Oh, to be honest, I'm pretty lucky they're all belters. But you know what? I used to be really funny with my bats, and I didn't. If I'd gone well, or well, even if I was familiar with the bat, I used to hate changing it. So then if it cracked or whatever, I'd be, oh God, I don't want to use any other bat. Whereas now, I usually have 3 or 4 in my bag, and I'll just pull any of them out
Really?
at random at training.
Okay.
And I'll just hit with it, and if I have I'd use a bat in the previous game.
Freya Kemp is on strike on 36 as Vastrika bowls. This is again hit into the offside. Not much timing, just a single taken.
Yeah, so I might use one bat, say for example when I played on Sunday, but then if I go to training tomorrow and I'll just pull another one out, and if it's like, oh, this one feels good, I'll just take that into the next game. I used to be a lot more superstitious just across the board, but I'm a bit more random these days. And I just sort of go, like I said, I'm lucky because all my bats pick up very similar, and the middle and the height of the middle doesn't change all that much.
Vastrika bowling to Eccleston, who will get a single square on the leg side, clipping that ball away. His leading run score, or English run score in this year's 100 in the women's tournament. Did you have a bat that you used in particular?
I actually did use. Do you see? This is a thing. I might have even changed it amongst the 100. I definitely used. I got a new bat just before the 100, and I used that in the first few games. But I feel like I might have changed to one of my other ones.
That's a good delivery from Vastrika outside the off stump, Yorker length. Not much that Kemp can do with it. She rehearses a stroke she would have liked to have played, but it was a pretty good piece of bowling that. And England 1-2-3 for 6.
There's very little difference in my bats, to be fair. The only thing that has changed in recent times, and I don't know if you've seen it with other brands as well, is the toes. So some of the bats have gone really flat toe, yeah.
Yeah. Here comes Vastrika bowling to Kemp. Gives herself some room. Launches into the leg side. Will get runs. Probably just a couple because the ball rather plugs as it's eventually picked up by Mandana at deep mid-wicket. And Kemp moves to 39, 125 for 6. We've got 8 balls left in this England innings. Because like Joe Root stood that one up at the non-striker's
Yeah, that's
end.
right, yeah. Yeah, but I don't actually know the rationale for the change in that, because they obviously always used to be curved, and then in recent times they've gone to flatter bottoms.
Here comes Vastrika bowling to Kemp. A big slash at that outside edge. He'll go on the bounce down to the fielder at deep third. Kemp moves to 40. And England up to 126 for 6. And we're eyeing up a 50 here, with just over an over left of the innings. Here is Vastrika at the end of her mark. We've got a fielder in the deep cover. Square leg, long off and long on. In comes Vastrika. This is hit in the air. Brilliant piece of timing from Sophie Ecclestone. Oh, she said she liked the bat that she had. Well, if that's the one that she was speaking to you about, it does look a good one, because that absolutely flew away from Ecclestone's bat to the right of the fielder at long on. And England moved to 130 for 6 with an over left of the innings. Talk us through that shot. It's a belter.
Just a lovely swing, wasn't it? Still great balance at the crease and just picked her gap. Got that bottom hand through nicely to pick the pocket out there. And she's someone that deserves a lot of credit for her batting, Sophie Ecclestone, because the way she's come on with the bat in the last few years, and is a genuine threat when she goes out to the middle because of how quickly she can score. And she's put a lot of work into it, and we're just seeing the fruits of that now.
Kemp's on 40, final over. As this is hit down the ground, could be a chance of a catch. No, it'll drop short of the fielder. Mandler long off, and England move to 131 for 6 with Ecclestone on strike. Good recovery this from an England side who were wobbling a bit early on in their innings. What have you spotted?
I think she'll be eyeing up that leg side pocket.
What, between long on and deep mid wicket?
Yeah.
Yours!
Well, it's a good piece of fielding. Ooh, and almost a run out at the non-striker's end. Radha Yadav off her own bowling, picked up with Kemp out of her ground. So the throw came in. There was just a moment where we were waiting for the bails to light up. But it's a valuable dot ball. 4 balls left in the innings. 131 for 6. Ecclestone is targeting that leg side, but gets it a little squarer than she perhaps wanted. And we'll get just the 1 run. 132 for 6. 3 balls left of the innings. Looks annoyed there.
Yeah, no, I didn't actually realise just how much tape is on that bat. It's like the whole way up, isn't it?
Here comes Yadav over the wicket. Left arm spin. Kemp dancing down the track. Hits that ball. Flat, hard, and for 6. That is a really good shot from Freya Kemp, the 17-year-old, delighting the Derby crowd. England move to 138 for 6. 2 balls left of the innings. Kemp moves to 47.
And that was great. It went all the way up the sight screen.
Oh, it did.
And then it bounced all the way up and then rolled all the way back down.
Oh, it's only
straight
just
into
made
the
it back.
crowd's hand.
How good's that? It's only just made it back down. There's a lovely thing. So Kemp is on 47, looking utterly unfazed by everything. Ball has eventually made its way back to the middle, and umpire Sue Redfern. 138 for 6. If England could get to 145 from here, they'll feel, given the start to the innings, that is a pretty good effort. Right then, Radha Yadav is going to come round the wicket to try and just cramp Kemp for room. She's on 47. Yadav in. Kemp gives herself some space. Smacks it down the ground. Is this 4 runs? It is. There's 50. 50 for Freya Kemp. A huge embrace from Sophie Ecclestone. And that's a lovely moment. 17 years old. The crowd rise. The England fielders as well, who are waiting for their work in the second half of this match, are standing on the boundary edge and applauding. And Freya Kemp, 51 from 36 balls.
And the expression on her face remains exactly the same, which is as calm as ever.
If that was me, he laps around the ground. I'd be asking where the statue was going to go. Last ball of the innings. Kemp gives herself some room, misses out at a dot ball to finish things off. And finish off an innings that has been, well, topsy-turvy, I think it's fair to say, for England. 142 for 6 is the score. Freya Kemp finishing on 51 not out from 37 balls, but given that England was 16 for 3 and then 54 for 5, to have made their way to 142 for 6 feels like a pretty good effort, Lauren Winfield Hill.
Yeah, it does. I think there's been a real good fight back there from England. Obviously not off to the ideal start, but I think there's been some fantastic depth and almost experience beyond their years between Maya Boucher and Freya Kemp, holding that innings together and then accelerating at the back end. I think we spoke at the halfway mark at about 135, and England might want a few more than that. And they've managed to get somewhere close to that, so they'll certainly feel like they have something to defend, something to have a real go at here. Early wickets are probably going to be key again in this innings. But India, I think this is a good surface. You know, generally if you can hit the ball well high up the ground, we haven't seen a lot of turn, skidded on a little bit under the lights. I think it's a good surface. I wouldn't say it's a hugely above par score, but I think England will certainly feel like they're in the game.
Yep, well, England's innings, as I say, got off to a poor start. 16 for 3 after Dunkley went for 5, Wyatt for 6, and Capsey was run out for 4. Bryony Smith made 16, Amy Jones 17, as there was a bit of recovery, and then the big partnership between Maya Bouchier and Freya Kemp that saw England move from 54 for 5 to 119 for 6. That really did make a big difference before Bouchier, the final wicket to fall. Eccleston and Kemp came together and added valuable runs, 23 of them towards the back end of the innings. Eccleston finished on 7 and Kemp 51 from 37. 3 wickets for Sneh Rana, always impressive, the off-spinner. Dipti Sharma picked up 1. Renuka Singh Thakur picked up 1 as well. And India's target will be 143. Lauren Winfield-Hill, will they get there?
I think England will fancy themselves to defend this. I think it's going to be... early wickets are going to be crucial again. One thing that we did see on offer in the first innings was swing. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Lauren Bell goes here, potentially with the new ball, whether she can get some early movement, because she's a massive threat when the ball's swinging. And obviously that extra bit of height, which there often is a nice bit of bounce here at Derby, a little bit of extra bounce. But I think this power play is going to be key. For how this power play goes is going to be key in determining this game.
Thank you very much, Lauren. We will have more from Lauren Winfield-Hill as we go through the second innings, but it is, of course, the day after England's men's test summit was concluded. They beat South Africa at the Oval to seal a series victory by 2-1. After the match, Brendan McCullum, the England head coach, spoke to the BBC's Alison Mitchell.
Brendan, congratulations on quite an incredible summer. What's been the most pleasing aspect for you?
Yeah, thanks, Ellie. I think the way the guys have bought into everything the skipper's asked of them and the style of play that is authentic to him and the way he leads, and obviously the results are fantastic, but I think that the mentality shift amongst these guys has been quite amazing, and it's been something pretty special to be a part of, to be honest.
Can you tell us how that mentality shift exactly came about? Is it the two of you together? Was it more Ben? Was it more you?
Well, it's definitely more Ben. He's the leader of the side, and I think the way he plays cricket, the way he lives his life is exactly how he leads a group of men as well. And the guys have got right in behind it. They know that he's going to leave it all out there for him, and his messaging's been outstanding right throughout. It's been very consistent. It's been about trying to entertain, trying to ensure that people that pay their money and turn on their TVs and listen on the radio and turn up in the grounds have been entertained. And Test cricket is such an amazing game that it needs the relevance and it needs that support, and that was where the messaging from Ben and where his head's at, that's what our job is. And ideally you want to get the results, and ultimately we're judged by the results, but fundamentally our job is to entertain and ensure that everyone goes home happy.
How much did you know of Stokes before you started working with him? Did it match your expectations? I
thought he'd be good. I didn't realise he'd be this good. We knew each other a little bit, but I think our relationship certainly blossomed over the last couple of months, and enjoyed spending a lot of time with him and working closely with him. He's an incredible human being, actually, and we've seen his life documented on tape recently, and you've seen his own struggles and where he's at in his career and what he's been able to achieve as well. But one thing about him is he's a genuine, authentic person who loves being able to give guys freedom to go and be the best version of themselves on the cricket field, and I think that's really resonated with this group, and hence why we've seen some guys who probably came into the summer with question marks over their head being able to go out there and perform and look every bit as good as every international cricketer going around.
Very pleasing at the end to see Zach Crawley hit the winning runs. He one of those players that you're thinking of? Yeah, definitely. Look, I think what we saw from Zach in the last innings is
what he's capable of achieving, and I think we've got to be real careful in this country in particular, in this game, that we don't try and catch form with selections. I think you've got to give guys, if you think they're good enough and you see something in them and you think they've got a higher ceiling, give them the opportunity and then give them time to be able to work it out. And Zach's one of those guys, and I think he'll learn a lot from this innings. He's obviously had these moments before in his Test career, but I think this process he's gone through over the last few months will hold him in good stead, and I think everyone saw how good a player he is, and I'm sure he'll grow and develop from where he is, but he's certainly one of those players there.
A couple of players who, at the start of the summer when they were left out of the West Indies tour, there were thoughts that this could have perhaps been the farewell test for them, Stuart Broad and James Anderson, and yet here we are, and they both seem as hungry as ever, and they're performing and they're taking wickets and winning you matches. What does it take to bring out the best in them? Oh,
and they're smiling as well, which is good to see. So they're quite incredible humans, actually. For them to still have that desire and that dedication to try and not just get better and perform for themselves, but also to pass on information and to give other guys freedom within the dressing room, and to get in the fight and in the competition it's pretty unique characters. And I think those guys have still got a lot to offer in the next few years, and hopefully that's where their heads are at as well, because they're two of the all-time greats, and they operate in the same side, so it gives us so much freedom and so much control when it comes to our bowling and the ability to take 20 wickets, which you need to win Test matches.
Was there ever a moment where you sat down with either or both of them sort of prior to this summer, with them coming back into the Test side?
No, not really. It's sort of, my job at the start was to softly get to know these guys and to understand, what makes them tick and what their motivations are and where they see themselves within not just this summer but moving forward, and that'll continue to be a process that we go through. And I've just enjoyed getting to know them all, and I thought English cricket had a lot of talent. It's got a lot more talent than I thought, and I knew these guys were good, but they're a lot better than I thought, and that's a very privileged position to be in, to be able to help these guys to go out there and perform for their country, and it's been an absolute thrill right throughout the season.
A Pakistan tour will pose a quite different set of conditions and different challenge to a home summer. What are you expecting and how to approach that?
Yeah, that's something we'll have to look at in time, and obviously there'll be some flexibility in regards to balance of the side and things like that, and different skill sets, but I just want us to really focus on what we've been able to achieve over the last sort of couple of months, and it's been such a great journey, and we've been able to entertain a lot of people and achieve some really cool things, and just let that sort of simmer away and let that kind of resonate with the guys for a bit, and hopefully in time we'll look back on the summer really fondly, and guys that have shared this dressing room throughout the summer, in 15, 20 years' time, they'll get together and talk about the summer that we've had, and then if that's our focus and we stay where we are right now, then things will work out. When Pakistan arrives, we'll sort things out there, hopefully.
I deliberately haven't used the phrase that's been coined over the course of the summer to describe the style of play. How would you want to sum up and describe the style of play?
Well, I think both Stokes and myself and the leaders within the group, we talk. For us, it's not about crash, bang, wallop. It's about trying to give the guys the freedom by taking away some of the external noise and the pressures and taking away a lot of stuff which can enter your head sometimes, and the negativity, and it can stymie your ability to actually let your talent come out. If we can take some of that stuff away, remain consistent with messaging, keep giving guys confidence and freedom, then over time talent comes out, and when your talent's good enough, you're going to be able to succeed. And hopefully that's the overriding message throughout the summer, is that guys have been able to mature and perform in their own way at their own time. And for some guys like Johnny Bairstow, that's 100 off 70 balls. For someone like Ben Folkes, it's doing things differently and painting the canvas in his own way. And Ollie Pope are the same. So hopefully that's what we've been able to achieve this summer. There's still big challenges to come, obviously, in the next couple of years, but for now I think it's been a pretty successful summer.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So that was Alison Mitchell with England men's captain Brendan McCullum, and on that, England women are taken to the field here at Derby. They posted 142 for 6 in their first innings, so India need 143 to win. England are 1-0 up in this T20 series. Freya Kemp, impressive with a 51 not out, just 17 years old. England's top order didn't perform, but a partnership between Maya Bouchier and Freya Kemp have put England up to a total that they could defend here, as I'm alongside Lauren Winfield-Hill, England international. What do you make of that total, Lauren?
Yeah, I think we spoke at the halfway point of the first innings, didn't we? At a little sort of 135, 140 from that position. I think it's a good score. It's it's one of those scores, isn't it, where both teams are in the game. I think if you get off to a good start, it's quite a hard ground to defend. But equally, early wickets, I feel like I'm really sitting on the fence here, but early wickets are going to be crucially important, and I'd be interested to see how much movement Lauren Bell can create early here, because we did see some swing in that first innings for India.
So Shafali Verma, the right-handed batter, will be joined by Smriti Mandhana, the left-handed batter, to open the batting for India, and Lauren Bell from this media centre end charges in to bowl to Verma, who's just guided that to third man. Sarah Glenn in and fires it into Amy Jones' gloves tidily. Dot ball to start for India. They need 143 to win. Two fielders outside the circle. Fine leg and deep square leg, with Lauren Bell, who bowls hooping in swing to the right-handed batter Sophie Eccleston at mid-off, just giving Lauren Bell some wise words. Just her second T20 international, as she charges in, pumping her arms and bowls, and that's played to mid-wicket for no run. Belly just looks like she's just readjusting her field. She knows what she wants.
Yeah, just a little bit of movement on offer there by Lauren Bell. She just want to get it slightly fuller with that movement there.
No slip in play to the right-hander, but I'm expecting to see one to Mandhana, the left-hander, because that'll be swinging away. Amy Jones, the captain, stood back behind the stumps. Shafali Verma poises, a little knee bend as Berlin advances and hits hard out to deep square leg. Maya Bouchier comes round and keeps it to a single. One without loss, India off the mark. Shafali Verma, one with that single. I think Eccleston will be heading down next to Amy Jones to stand at first slip. She won that X Factor audition.
Yeah, what's this X Factor audition?
So this was before the test, right at the start of the summer, but against England versus South Africa. Obviously with Anya Shrubsole retiring, there was a vacancy in the slip cordon, and apparently it was literally X Factor auditions, and if you dropped it, you're out. You're not in the next round. And it was Sophie Eccleston versus Kate Cross at the end as Berlin bowls, and that's outside the off stump. Mandhana tries to cut it but misses. And yeah, the final, so the grand finale, was the Lancashire pair, Cross versus Eccleston, and Eccleston claimed the trophy, so that's why she's in the cordon.
She nearly got an opportunity that very last ball there. Big swing by Smriti Mandhana.
Seems like brutal though, doesn't it? One drop and you're out. I wonder if it plays like that in the middle. As Lauren Bell in, pumping her arms, bowls, and left alone outside the off stump, going away from the left-hander. That was touch and go at that wide line. Mandhana's another player for me. We've seen a fantastic innings from the left-handed Freya Kemp, but she just always looks so chilled. And I mean, she's got a lot of international experience. She's a phenomenal player, but doesn't give much away with her body language, her facial expressions. Just looks calm, just taps her bat as she looks up to a Lauren Bell charging in, and that's cut out past a backward point and a cover, and that's 4 runs. Just timing there from Smriti Mandhana, and that's her first boundary. 6 without loss, India.
Yeah, she knew that was a boundary from the minute it left her bat there. She did not even take 2 steps down the ground to make an attempt to run for that. She knew she'd got it through.
There's a crowd poised now, standing, as we look from the media end at the stand ahead. There's a group of them with signs, just poised on that boundary rope, as Berlin again driven this time, but finds Sophia Dunkley extra cover, so will be no run. 6 without loss then after the first over. Nice steady reply from India. Why they stood, Lauren? I'm intrigued. It's just like a...
Yeah, there's just a big gathering from nowhere, isn't it?
But you usually see that when there's a player there and they want them to sign autographs, but there's not a player in sight, I can assure you that much. But they're just right in the game. It's actually a really good crowd here at Derby to our left as we look at the pavilion and all the food and drink bars. There's people gathering around there, but most people can't keep their eyes off the cricket, which is good. The floodlights are on. The sun is nearly set. It's only 7:30. Winter's coming, Lauren.
Oh no, I only said that this morning when I was leaving for training, actually. It's really like misty and wintry, isn't it?
We've still got cricket to come though. There's the ODI series versus India after this for England. As Freya Davies takes a new ball from the far end, advances by Verma. Big swing. If she got hold of that was going miles. But unfortunately for Verma, she misses. Good intent though from India.
And instantly Amy Jones comes up to the stumps there. There's no surprise. Massive intent to use her feet there by Shafali Verma. And it's a good move by Amy Jones, just stopping Shafali, being able to use her feet, coming up to the stumps.
Come on, Frey. Just getting her gloves on. She's got the helmet on. She adjusts it. And she's poised. The best keeper in the game. As Freya Davies in bowls, and that's worked up to mid-on. Mike Boucher comes in, fires at the stumps, but Shafali Verma's safely there. And she's actually given Freya Davies a few words, as she felt she got in the way. But Freya Davies, long blonde hair, walking back. Important series this for her, actually. Would you say, Lauren? She hasn't had the opportunity so far. She's obviously been a contracted England player for a while. But with Brunt obviously out the series, Anya Shrubsole retiring, there's young fast bowlers waiting in the wing. You've got Izzy Wong, who's not playing today. This is quite important for her.
Yeah, I think it is. I think, she doesn't want to be that bowler that almost gets leapfrogged. I think this is a really important series for her. Like, as you said, a couple of more senior players either retired or out of it as well. Nat Siver's not here, who often does take the new ball in this format of the game.
Davies in to the left-hander, and that's pushed to mid-off. Will be no run. 7 without loss, India.
And yeah, as you say, it's hugely important that she sort of puts her hand up and says, no, look, I'm still around here as well. Because it has been a summer where lots of new names have come on the scene, haven't they? And that's largely been bowlers. But I think, this has been a format, a really strong suit for Freya Davies. I think she's got really good variations. She bowls really good Yorkers and slower balls at the death. So she has done well when she's played.
As she comes again, that's down the leg side. That beats Sarah Glenn at fine leg in the circle, and that'll be 4 runs. And that really was a loose delivery and punished by Smriti Mandhana. 11 without loss.
It was one of those deliveries where it would have been lovely to a right-hander. But it's a worthy point though, isn't it? Because it's difficult adjusting right to left-handers. Why you see it's such a desirable thing for a team now, isn't it, to have those combinations? Something that in England we've never really had a lot of left-handed batters, but a lot of teams around the world are looking for that now, aren't they?
Davies in, and that's worked to mid-wicket. Will be a dot ball. Yeah, and I think, Freya Kemp's put her name right in the hat for that English player that has been missing. But I think at an international level, those international bowlers need to step up when there's a left hand, right hand, and be accurate on their lines. I think England have been very, I'm trying to think of the right word, but having Catherine Brunt and Anya Shrubsole, who are 2 experienced cricketers, as Freya Davies in again, and that's hit to mid-on, will be no run. And been able to hold that attack for so long, and they're so disciplined, they're relentless. The lines and the lengths they bowl, they adjust left hand, right hand to whoever's batting. That it is a big hole that England need to fill. Obviously, Anya Shrubsole retiring from cricket. Catherine Brunt at the moment's having a rest, and she has retired from Test cricket. And these young bowlers, it's a real test of them.
Yeah, it is, and it's interesting because I think it's one of those things that you struggle with simply from volume of preparation and training hours. And if you think of how many times you bowl at a right-hander, or you go and even if you're just bowling, in the middle, not at a batter, how many times does the first delivery we bowl at a right-hander, and what percentage do you do to right and left? And I think over the years it'll be hugely weighted towards just bowling at right-handers, and then all of a sudden you're bowling at left and right combinations at international cricket, and you think, I need to practice both now.
Lauren Bell then. Still got ball in hand. That's hit hard down the ground by Shafali Verma. 1 bounce 4 over mid-on's head. That's a statement of intent from Verma. The score moves to 15 without loss.
It was interesting actually, because it was something that from a keeping point of view, I found difficult, or not difficult as such, but I was certainly aware of it with keeping to left-handers and snicks to left-handers. I think it was against Sunrisers early in the season, and they've got a few left-handers, and it just doesn't feel quite as smooth.
Lauren Bell in for her response then. That's width outside the off stump. Fantastically fielded by Dunkley, diving to her left. Dot ball, but a bit of width there from Bell. Not as much swing as she'd expected. Verma's on 6, Mandana on 8. 15 without loss.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you go to and they say, well, how often do you keep against a left-hander? Or when you first catch balls at the start of the session, is it left or right? And it's like, well, no, it's always right-handed. It's why it feels, and it's exactly the same for the bowler, isn't it? It's just being conscious to make sure that you've got that balance right with your prep.
Ball in again, and that's hit up to extra cover again. Will be no run. Shafali Verma's not holding back with the swing of the bat though. A nice big back lift. She's going hard at this ball. Just changing the subject a little bit from the left hand, right hand. Obviously, opening batter is South Lauren. How do these two need to go about this? They're obviously stringing some dot balls, then getting a boundary. There's not much rotation of the strike.
Yeah, I think to have a really successful power play, you've got to have a blend of the two.
Bell to Verma. That's hit down the ground again. That will be another boundary. One bounce, 4 over mid-on's head again. They're getting after Lauren Bell just in her second T20 for England. 19 without loss in India. Verma 10 off 9 balls.
Yeah, because you think of the way in which Shafali Verma plays, and often you think she's really destructive and she's a big boundary hitter, and then at times it can feel like it's quite destructive, but if you actually look at her strike rate, she's only a runner ball because there isn't the rotation between, but there is high percentage of boundaries, so I think you want to try and get the blend of the two.
Bell in. Verma comes over to the offside, but then can only hit to cover. So again, a dot ball. And exactly that. She's striking 10 off 10 now. As you said, Lauren, there's not much rotation of the strike. She's just going hard at the ball, wanting a boundary. And I think that comes with experience a little bit as well. I think without referring back to the team, obviously the over Invincibles, you and Susie Bates were a prolific opening partnership in that 100 as Berlin to Verma outside the off stump, slower ball finds Sophia Dunkley at extra cover, will be no run. That's 3 overs gone, 19 without loss India. You had that balance, didn't you? You had that relationship as well, which I think is really important. Of yes, you've got a lot more fielders in that ring, but you are able to just even slightly softer hands and rotate that strike, which then puts the fielding team under pressure because they then want to come in to stop that single, which creates more boundary options for you. And I think, is that fair to say that that's what makes it successful opening partnership?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously any partnership is built around sort of a good understanding of each other and good communication, but I think it's sort of, and I think there's probably somewhere where I've been more successful this summer in that format of the game than previous, is that I think sometimes you can get caught up in hitting boundaries and then you sort of get tunnel vision for, well, I want to hit it down the ground, and then what about all these balls that aren't there to be hit down the ground that you've missed out on? So I think it's almost having that conscious awareness of where you would like to score, but in the moment is just playing what comes down.
Smith into the attack, and that's beautifully played by Mandana. There's no one at third man and she's just guided it down there. Lauren Bell chases after it, but that's good manipulation of the field from Mandana. She moves to 10, 21 without loss.
You know, there's just a good example there by Smriti Mandana. No doubt that mid-off up here, in her mind she's going, if she gives me the length, I'm going to hit her over mid-off extra cover. Really strong area for her, but the length's not there, so she's still able to manipulate from that.
So that's driven to cover, will be no run,
and then she gets into length and width, and she can still work it for 1 and 2 because you know that what you want to, ideally where you want to score, but then you've still got the ability to switch and just play the ball.
Smith in again, the off spinner, that's on leg stump, and that's a cry of catch it. Square leg was in the circle. She can't get a hand to it, Freya Davies, but that's 4 runs to Mandana. Too short by Bryony Smith. She moves to 14 off 10, 25 without loss. I feel like as well, I guess when we're looking at this partnership, Shefali Verma's still a young cricketer, and you can almost see the difference in the way they're going about it. Mandana's punishing the balls that are in her area if they're up, if it's too short, but she's also looking to manipulate the field. She's found that too, so it's not all about boundaries in her eyes. There's quicker ball by Smith, and that's punched off the back foot firmly to extra cover. Will be no run. 25 without loss.
Yeah, no, and like you say, Shefali Verma's very much at the start of her career, and you can see that she's still in that I'm trying to hit every ball for a boundary phase.
She certainly has the power and talent to do that. It's finding the balance of Smith in, and that's worked into a vacant mid-on for a single by Mandana, just down the ground. Freya Kemp coming in, throwing it back to her bowler, Bryony Smith. 26 without loss, India. The big difference here, where England were at this stage, they were 3 wickets down. India still have all wickets intact, and Mandana just has to shift over to the other side. She's staying over the wicket to Shefali Verma. A ring field on the offside, no one at third man, so she's going to have to bowl very straight here to this field, along on a mid-wicket, and she does bowl straight, and that's a fantastic shot. One bounce fourth by Shefali Verma on one knee, sweeping out the middle. 30 without loss, India. 4 overs gone.
And again, that's probably a really good example of actually just playing what the ball deserves, I guess, rather than premeditating where you're trying to score. The ball just drifting down leg side there, and she just helped it on its way around the corner there, and really clean strike by Shefali Verma. She's got going nicely, India, in that last over.
Yeah, 11 runs from it. So a big over from India, and again at the same stage England were 20 for 3. So the key being that 3 wickets down. We see a change of bowling from the media centre end. Freya Kemp, she's had a good day so far, 51 off 37 with the bat. Not out. What can she do with the ball? She's a left arm seamer. She scurries at the start of her mark and bowls left arm over to Mandana. That's pulled into the leg side, slightly short, and Mandana's not going to let her get away with that. Mandana moves to 19, 34 for none. I bet she's bowled a lot at her in the nets for the Southern Brave. How much? I'm asking you this, Lauren, because you're way better at cricket than me. How much?
Don't do yourself an injustice.
How much difference does it make if you face, say, let's go to, you face Marizanne Kapp a lot in the nets, and then you play her in the middle? Is that giving you an advantage, or do you not see it like that?
Oh no, it's a no ball as well. I think whether you face the player in the nets a lot, or whether you just play against them a lot.
So this is a free hit then, it's Kemp in, and that's hit hard down the ground by Mandana. 1 bounce 4, and that's a fantastic shot. 39 without loss, India. They need 104 from 95 balls.
And cool, calm Smriti Mandana cracks a big smile there. She enjoyed that one. It's one of those where I think you get a general theme of what bowlers are trying to. I think you see the field as well. Poor bowlers can't really hide. You know, if they're setting a field, have they got a slip, so they're going to try and swing it away, or have they? You know, are they going to go wobble ball because there's no slip?
Kempin bowls. That's a better length delivery, guided to cover by Mandana. No run.
When they get hit for a boundary, do they go to a bouncer? Do they go to a slower ball? And I think there is probably part of, you know, if you face them a lot in the nets, you sort of you pick up on cues, you know, their go-tos, you know how, you know, what their slow ball looks like as it comes out. But I think the other thing is there's so much data and analysis around now.
Kemp to Mandana, the width outside the off stump, and that is a fantastic cricket shot. Just punched through, backward a point and cover. And that's 4 runs to Mandana. This has been a fantastic over for India. 43 without loss.
Is that, you know, there's so much analysis where you can almost get, okay, well, this is what they bowl in this phase of the game. This is their go-to in the middle phase, and this is what they generally bowl at the death. They bowl wide Yorkers, or they bowl 80% slower balls into the wicket. So I think you sort of can't hide anywhere nowadays, whether it's batting, bowling, or even in the field. There's
too much data out there for you to even worry about facing them in the nets. You already know what they're going to do, Lauren. That's what you're saying. As Freya Kemp into Mandana, slower delivery, and that's guided to a vacant square leg. It'll just be a single. 44 for none. And interesting here, Lauren, just back to what we're seeing out here. Freya Kemp, young 17-year-old. Amy Jones, the captain, is trying to have a conversation with Kemp, and Eccleston's heavily involved in this. You'd assume she's, even though she's a young cricketer, is a vice-captain here in this situation.
Yeah, I'm looking around this team, and I think I would imagine that is the case.
Kemp into the right-handed Verma, shorter ball, that's pulled away into the onside. One bounce four again from Verma. You've heard it here many times this over. Expensive first over for Freya Kemp. She goes for 18-48 without loss, and there's still one ball to come, and Jones is trying to speak to Eccleston. Freya Davies is walking back with Freya Kemp, and this is the first time I feel like I've seen Freya a little rattled.
Yeah, I think, Shefali Verma is susceptible to the short ball. I think it's a ploy that a lot of people have used on her all around the world, but I don't think Freya Kemp's quite got that speed, especially on these surfaces, to really threaten on the short ball. I think a change of pace would be more effective.
That is that slower ball that you asked for, and that's whipped into the onside. Danny White's quickly round and does very well to keep that to just a single. But a tough over that from Freya Kemp. She's gone for 19 off her first, 49 without loss. 5 overs gone. A few more thoughts from Lauren Winfield-Hill, and you'll be joined by Henry Moran with a cup of tea.
Yeah, India just got up and running here a little bit in the last few overs. Got a nice bit of momentum on the back of that Bryony Smith over, and then Freya Kemp being expensive there. I just think England just need to take a moment here and just, okay, what's our plans? Is the plans good and we're just not executing, or is the plan not good and we need to move to another plan? And I think, it's not obvious what they're trying to do here, whether they're trying to go pace on and swing it, or they're trying to go short, or they're trying to go slower balls. So I think just taking a minute to take time out of the game and sting a bit of momentum, but also just make sure we've got our plans right here.
Eccleston round the wicket. We'll see Shefali Verma get one into the leg side. Sprinting in to pick up is Capsey. Eccleston, the world's leading T20 bowler. Might England have thought about maybe not opening with her, but once the momentum started coming during the power play, just possibly trying to rein it in a little bit.
Yeah, I think she's become a very reliable bowler, hasn't she, in all sorts. You can turn to her for a wicket-taking option, you can turn to her for a quiet over.
50 on the board, the target 143. Into the 6th over only. This is chopped away, and a good tumbling save from Freya Davies will prevent the run. Things will get a little easier for England at the end of this over, because that's when the power play concludes. You're allowed 4 outside the circle at that point, and everything gets a little easier for the side in the field. At the moment, just the 2 out. We've got a long on a deep mid-wicket, and there's a gap exposed on the offside, and a gap found by Smriti Mandana. It's a brilliant shot from the left-hander, who lofts it over the covers to move India to 54 without loss.
Yeah, Smriti Mandana just advancing there, going over that favoured area of extra cover. I think she'll have it in her mindset here to take on Sophie Eccleston. Ball spinning into her, even though there's not a great deal of spin on offer.
Eccleston, tall figure over the wicket, bowling a little bit quicker and flatter, and Mandana sees that ball and happy just to nudge it up the ground for a single towards long on Bryony Smith there in the distance. In front of that single-tiered exposed stand with the sight screen in the middle of it, dividing it in half, as we see Verma on strike and Eccleston almost hiding behind umpire Redfern, and now appearing and bowling. It's on the pads of Verma, and though she tries to launch that ball somewhere towards the pavilion, gets nothing on it. And a useful
somewhere
dot.
towards Morrison's, I reckon.
It might well have been.
She swings. She's got such fast hands, hasn't she, Shefali Verma?
I love the contrast in styles between these two. As here comes Eccleston to Verma, back towards her. Brilliant catch! An astonishing bit of fielding from Sophie Eccleston. Caught and bowled, and that is brilliant. It is quite brilliant from Sophie Eccleston. 55 for 1.
Yeah, great return catch there by Sophie Eccleston, and that's how important she is to this England team, isn't it? The momentum was all with India there. And a sharp chance taken. That's a big wicket here for England. Just as India were getting going. She's done it so often. Stem the run flow, taken the wicket, and changed the momentum of the game.
Verma gone for 20, caught and bowled Eccleston. And the score 55 for 1. I enjoyed seeing Sue Redfern, who was in the firing line. She jumped out of the way almost as if she saw a bicycle cycling towards her down the pavement. It was a proper, up we go. But luckily for her, Eccleston's right hand had got to that ball first. And the big breakthrough for England. India rely heavily on that top two. And they have got a good start, but now England maybe have just slightly opened that door, created a little opportunity to put some pressure on.
Yeah, it's not too unlike England's lineup, is it, where you've sort of got two more experienced campaigners and then a little bit of inexperience through that middle. Obviously Harmanpreet Kaur is the anchor and the established international in that middle order. But again, just teams are just having a look, aren't they, at a few different players, tinkering a little bit, looking ahead to that T20 World Cup.
Delan Hemalatha is someone that played in the T20 World Cup 2018 in the West Indies and is back in the side now, facing Sarah Glenn, who got career best figures of 4 for 23 the other night at Chestler Street. And the leg spinner sees the ball whipped to the leg side immediately with 1 run taken. So that extraordinary noise we just heard was a slow motion of Sophie Eccleston taking that catch, and I think what sounded faintly bovine might have been the slow motion of an England fielder celebrating that catch.
I thought it was...
Do you think it was me?
No, I thought it was like a cat fight or something.
Here comes Glenn over the wicket then. Tall figure moving away from us. And a little bit of bounce and an unusual shot from Hemalatha. First ball goes through to Amy Jones, who tosses the ball back with a smile on her face. Here comes Glenn once more. A little bit lower, flatter. That's walloped away into the leg side, but England, now we're out of the power play, have that protection on the leg side, so it'll just be the 1 run. This is where, with India having had this really good start, England will look at the route back into the game by building pressure.
I think as well it's keeping Smriti Mandhana off strike, isn't it? Having as many balls as you can at the new batter.
And comes Glenn round the wicket to bowl to Mandhana, and that is just helped around the corner. Really nice shot from Mandhana. She got that into enough of a gap for 4 runs. I think she does. It's a brilliant shot, just paddled round the corner. No power, all finesse.
Just timing, isn't it? Just helped it on its way. I've seen a couple of shots like that. I think quite often square leg is up to Smriti Mandhana in the power play, and it's something that she's brought into her game to access that area. Not a big sweeper, but can still access that area just by shuffling across.
Round the wicket comes Glenn. Forward in defence is Mandhana, who's on 38 from just 23. 61 for 1 is the score. It was on this ground, that tournament opener at the start of the T20 World Cup, of the 50 over World Cup in 2017. Mandhana scored 90 odd, really announced herself on the international scene. 1 pushed up the ground, and that'll see Mandhana keep the strike. 7 gone, 62 for 1, chasing 143. But then in the final, I think out without scoring.
Yeah, I think she actually struggled quite a bit after that. I seem to remember that she obviously played beautifully in that first game, and then I seem to remember that she was coming into the final off a bit of a torrid time of it after that, I think, if I got that right.
And then Shrubber's got her first of the day. And what was quite a memorable day, as it turned out.
It was rather.
Right then, who are we going to see here? It's going to be Alice Capsey into the attack. So England rotating the spinners. The 18-year-old Capsey with the off-spin from the far end of the ground. Right arm round the wicket. Run out earlier on today. And looking to get the wicket of Mandana, who's on 39. That's a bit leg side-ish, and it misses everything and goes down towards the boundary. Glenn in pursuit won't cut it off. It hits the sponge down below us. And 5 wides is not the ideal start. As Sue Redfern stretches the arms out and tells the scorers to add a big heap more to the scoreboard. 67 for 1. Capsey has to try again. Encouragement from Jones in the long sleeves, shirt untucked behind the stumps. As here comes Capsey again, emerging from behind umpire Redfern now. And Mandana just happy to clip that ball up towards wide, long on for 1. Score moves to 69 for 1. And England need to be patient and know that dot balls at this stage, because the depth of India's batting lineup, could be their route into this game. Clearly getting Mandana out ASAP would be also preferable.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, if you can apply pressure to the new batter and accumulate dots, it puts pressure onto Mandana to play that big shot and to keep the scoreboard going as the batter that's in.
Capsey bowls, push towards backward point. That's a good piece of fielding from Sarah Glenn with a little hop and a skip. Did well there because any fumble would have allowed the single. A clean piece of fielding just keeps that new batter on strike. Capsey in, lots of air, lofted away, glorious shot. 1 bounce and 4. That's a lovely piece of timing from Hemalata, and the crowd responding kind as well. Lofted away over the offside for 4.
Yeah, a lot of finesse in that shot as well, hasn't she? She played it, even the shots that haven't gone for runs. It's very technically correct, isn't it? As with a lot of these, I think of like a Jemima Rodrigues. Not the biggest in stature.
High elbow pushed into the onside as Dunkley shuffles around to pick up from mid-wicket.
But very efficient techniques, isn't it?
And the power is generated by the quality of the technique as opposed to the muscle, if you like. And Lather looking to ramp that ball, gets a piece of it and possibly enough of it. Well, no, there's a good diving stop from Lauren Bell who'll prevent the boundary, but they will see 2 onto the score, India. They're already well over halfway in their run chase. 74 for 1 with a ball left of the 8th over, the target 143. Just a little ramp. And had it been anyone other than Lauren Bell, that would have been 4 runs, but if you've got someone who's over 6 foot tall, that is useful in that sort of situation at short fine leg. Capsey moving in onto the floodlights. This is pushed up the ground from Hemalata, who's looking quite set now. And 75 for 1 is the score. 8 overs gone here. If you want to be watching this game, you can do so on BBC Two right now. Watch it in full on the iPlayer afterwards. There's highlights on the BBC Sport website and app. And you'll be able to see the scorecard there as well. So then, England, who are they going to turn to here? It looks as though they're returning to seam. I can see the rather purposeful walk of Freya Davis down below us. I've got some good stats for you, Lauren.
Go on, hit me.
Freya Kemp, the second youngest England cricketer in history to score of 50. Men's or women's in international cricket.
Who's the first?
Something you've played with?
Oh, don't put me on the spot like that, Henry.
That's all right. No, actually, I'm going to.
Somebody I've played
Yeah,
with.
somebody you played for England with, part of the World Cup winning squad in 2017. Coached in the 100 this year.
Danny Hazel?
Nope.
Laura Marsh?
Nope.
Oh my God, who has coached?
Here comes Freya Davis running into Volta Hemalata. I think you've got it. This has worked into the leg side.
No, I don't.
for a
I'm trying to
single.
go through the 100 teams.
76 for 1. You might have to think a little laterally, not necessarily
Oh, Sarah Taylor.
correct.
Ah,
She was one of the coaches for the Manchester
I
original
love how I went to
men's
the
team.
2 off-spinning all-rounders before probably the best number 3 keeper that the world's ever seen.
the teenage prodigy, famously. Well,
The off-spinners, they were pretty handy with the bats.
Laura
the bat
Marsh
too.
opened the batting for England once upon a time.
Exactly.
That was always what was said whenever Laura Marsh walked out with England in a bit of bother, batting at 9. She did once open.
Here's a bit of reassurance for you.
Just 20 needed per over from the last 12. Here comes Davis, bowling to Mandana, who elegantly pushes that ball off the back foot out towards wide, deep cover. 77 for 1 is the score. But as we mentioned earlier, this England lineup and the team that played at Chester Street on Saturday, the first time since the World Cup final of 2017 that none of a World Cup winning team are playing, which is a good indication of the talent coming through. Here comes Freya Davis, forgive me. Right arm over, keeper standing up. Oh, it goes through to Jones, who does some sharp work to whip the bails off, but Hemalatha has not left her ground.
Nice break.
Davis has bowled 9 deliveries, gone for just 7 runs so far. It's done a pretty good job. That was full outside the off stump, nothing that could be done with it. Captain Jones, who cries on Freya from behind the stumps, will be pleased with that, as Hemalatha waits on 9 from 9 balls. Oh, bowser! Off stump, rattled back, and Hemalatha looks rather quizzically towards the pitch, but I'm afraid she's been beaten by a really good delivery from Davis. He gets the acclaim from her teammates, and a second India wicket falls. 77 for 2. That was a beauty.
Yeah, off stump, out the ground there. Be interesting to see this back, whether it's just nipped away off the seam.
Oh, here's the replay. I think she's just missed it.
I don't really know what else there is to report on that
Look, we're nothing if not honest.
one. We've all missed them, haven't we?
Regularly, actually.
No, I think she just played inside the line, didn't she? It looked like it just went almost skidded on a little bit. Let's say that. I reckon under lights it does skip on.
And into the stumps that you're missing.
And the stump was then missing.
It was. Right then, Harmanpreet Kaur, the India captain, who was less than impressed with the fact that the game at Durham took place. The conditions not good enough, apparently, and a bit too damp. But the game did happen. Her side have been far better today in all facets of the game. And she comes to the middle to join Smriti Mandana with a target of 143 and 77 for 2 on the board, with a ball left of the 9th over. Freya Davis bounding in. Harmanpreet is defending into the fingertips of Freya Davis, and there'll be no run there.
Yeah, it's an interesting comment, isn't it, from Harmanpreet Kaur? I guess as a leader, but also I just think of times when I've played in India, and you start so early because of daylight, and this honestly the surface is so much dew on the ground. It is so damp.
Davis running in. Harmanpreet leans on a ball on leg stump to pick up 1 round the corner towards Lauren Bell, who runs in from in front of the bar at the far end of the ground. 78 for 2 after 9.
To the point where it's almost there's so much riding on the toss. So I thought it was an interesting comment. I mean, I know there's been some weather around and the groundsmen were working hard to get the game on, but I just think surely you want to play.
Always. Sarah Glenn's back into the attack as we hear over the PA system. Because of where this ground's positioned, we can see the outfield illuminated, the stands illuminated, but beyond the ground, because it's in sort of a little bit of an open space for sort of car parks all around, you would never know that we're in the centre of a city. It is complete darkness beyond the expanses of the outfield.
Apart from a bright Nuffield health sign.
Other health, gyms, etc. available. Glenn to bowl her second over, and Harmanpreet swivels, pulls into the leg side, will get 4. Lovely timing, lovely placement as well. And the India supporters at the far end of the ground wave those 4 signs. I can see an India flag as well that waves, because it's 4 from the bat of the captain.
Yeah, just missed her length a little bit there, a bit short. Sat up nicely for Harmanpreet Kaur. Again, another play with such quick hands and whip through the ball.
This is again just a little bit short. Absolutely the same shot and the same outcome, though the fielder does get a hand on it. Nothing that can be done to stop the ball in its progress to the boundary. And Freya Kemp stretched out but couldn't stop it. And is rather wringing that right hand. That she did her best to try and stop it. It was travelling at some speed. Not a great ball, that, from Sarah Glenn.
Yes, Glenda.
How will she respond? 86 for 2 is the score. This is too full, but won't yield a boundary because Capsey runs in from backward square leg to pick up. And 87 for 2 is the score. It's the life of a leg spinner. Getting that length consistent is the real challenge.
Yeah, and it just, to me, now, I've never been a bowler, and I'm even further away from being a leg spinner. But she just looks like she hasn't got that rhythm and that sort of drive through the crease. It looks like she's almost stopping in her action a little bit. Just hasn't got that momentum. You know, she quite often almost bowls like topspin. It's on you quite quickly.
Worked into the leg side by Mandana, who's on to 42. We've got a ball left, or 2 balls left of the 10th over. Almost those skiddy straight breaks, the most effective weapon in her armoury.
Yeah, and it sort of just skids on, and she's quite hard to get down the ground and use your feet to, but she's equally quite hard to sweep because it does just skid on and often get that bit of extra bounce.
In the air, just to the right of the fielder at mid-wicket and out towards Kemp in the distance to our left. Kaur swiveled and helped that ball away. Gets a single, 89 for 2. Heading towards the end of the 10th over, midway point in the innings. Glenn looking to finish this over in this half of the innings with some success for England. Round the wicket she comes, the leg spinner. Mandana will get 1 run, work towards deep mid-wicket. And the energetic figure of Danny Wyatt out there in front of the scoreboard. 90 for 2 is the score. 10 overs have been bowled. They're on Winfield Hill. What do England need to do here? And then it'll be Emily Windsor.
Yeah, I think obviously a lot of this game is held within these 2 batters at the crease. I think England will be happy to take either of them, or if not both of them, and I think we might see the game quite quickly turn on its head. These 2 build, you know, for the next few overs and then in a position to accelerate in that back end. But England, they need to take 3 wickets, don't they, in sort of quick succession, have a nice little cluster, otherwise this game's probably just slipping out of their hands.
Eccleston then into her second over as that's pulled into mid-wicket. Capsey comes in and she fires the ball in to Sophie Eccleston, 91 for 2. Are you surprised that, in a way, that they've held Eccleston back? Because you feel this is only her second over, 1 for 7 in her first over. She is the wicket taker, and that's what England need at this stage. They need 52 or 59.
Yeah, am I right in thinking that she didn't bowl a lot in the first part of the innings the other night either? She bowled sort of 1 in and were held back as well. I think the other, it's so hard, isn't it, because she's so good at the death as well.
That's fired quickly on the leg side. Lauren Bell does well at 45, so it's no run.
It's almost in these situations as a captain is you go top heavy with your best bowlers, and then you sort of we'll work out the rest when we get down to that. And I think maybe Amy Jones has potentially missed a trick with not bowling her earlier.
That's down the leg side and will be called a wide by umpire Paul Pollard.
There's just been a bit of a quick surge, hasn't there, by India, where it sort of felt like England were in a reasonable amount of control, and you can almost plan for the back end, whereas all of a sudden it's like, well, the game's in a different place now. We might have to go top heavy with our best strike bowlers.
As Kaur pushes it just down the ground in a defensive manner to long off, will just be a single. But you just feel as well, Eccleston builds pressure with dots at this end, or just singles. She rarely gives a bad ball, which then means the bowler at the other end can be a little bit more attacking and takes those wickets. It's not always her, granted, but England need a breakthrough at this stage. She's just realigning the wall on the offside as Eccleston in bowls, and that's again pulled off the back foot into a vacant mid-wicket. They're happy with just a single, India. And Mandana to 45 off 30 delivery. She's played absolutely beautifully. 94 for 2 India, requiring 49 off 56. It's just too easy at the moment.
Yeah, it is, and it's one of those things, isn't it, whether you bring her on as a wicket-taking threat or to just, I guess, just stem the run flow, is that at some point...
Eccleston in, again, just a punch up to extra cover, diving Capsey, but she can't stop the single. 48 from 55 needed.
Yeah, at some point with the accumulation of dots, somebody's going to have to go high risk, aren't they? And that's what you want, and with high risk is an opportunity of dismissal. I think as well, Amy Jones got to be brave here. She's had mid-off out for Harmanpreet Kaur.
As that's pushed off the back foot past the diving Eccleston, up to long off for a single. Mandana to 46, 47 from 54.
Who's obviously, she's faced 9 deliveries, she's fresh to the crease, and she's able to just score freely down the ground and get off strike. I just wonder whether you can take a bit of a punt and have an extra fielder in the ring in search for that wicket.
Yeah, that's Lauren Winfield-Hill. Maybe a change. Next to me we'll be joined by Anya Shrubsall. Interested from your thoughts, Anya. Just feel, we're discussing that we feel like Sophie Eccleston was probably held back a little bit too much there from Amy Jones. England need a wicket if they're going to win this game. And Eccleston, the best T20 bowler in the world, surely she should have been brought forward earlier.
I think it's to do with Smriti Mandana still being there. I think as good as Sophie Eccleston is, she isn't as good at bowling to left-handers as she is to right-handers, and it's not a great matchup from England's point of view. Smriti's been very successful against Sophie, so I think that's part of that, I guess, that rationale. I think that will be behind it.
Lauren Bell then back into the attack from the far end as that's worked into the onside by Mandana. Again, happy for a single. Maya Boucher comes round, but had they have pushed, potentially 2 could have been on offer, but they don't need any risks at this stage. 46 from 53 required.
Yeah, so I think that was probably part of the thinking there. They're hoping that someone else gets Smriti out, and then you've still got plenty of overs for Sophie to bowl at the right-handers, which is her real strength. So obviously Smriti still being there has kind of forced the hand. She has to bring her back. There's no point Sophie having overs spare at the end of the game.
So 4 fielders out on the leg side and a deep cover, so that's pushed in to backward point. Maya Boucher quickly in, fires it back into Amy Jones's gloves, and that's a dot ball. Lauren Bell just looks like she's varying her pace here, Anya, and I feel like this is an area that Lauren has developed her game, especially this year. Is her slower balls really are effective.
Yeah, they really are, and she kind of contrasts that, particularly at the back end of the innings with the bouncer as well. And I think
she's in bowls, Yorker length, but played up to mid-off will be no run. I think slight misfield, and they come through for a single. Sloppy fielding that from England. Sophie Eccleston, it was there at mid-off, but that's not what England need at this stage. 45 from 51.
Yeah, I think the contrast of the slower ball followed up by the bouncers is quite a good one. And one thing I would say is she's worked really hard. I guess she's someone who works really hard with her planning, with that sort of thing, to then be able to be really confident in what she's about to bowl.
Yeah, she certainly has a job on her hand out there today. 98 for 2 India, 45 from 51 needed as Bell in. Slower ball, and that's just guided out back to her, will be no run. 45 needed from 50. Mandana on 47 off 33. You're back with us, Anya. I was worried.
Sorry, just having a coughing fit there. All good. Drink of water.
I feel like this commentary box is falling apart. We got Lauren Winfield here on her hands and knees. At least Charlotte, at least you're still standing. We got you. That's all that matters. As Lauren Bell in, that's down the leg side and pulled by Mandana. Danny Wyatt there at deep square leg does the fielding, so it's just a single.
How's you summarising, Charlotte? If we all fall down, thumbs down. Okay. One of me and Lauren needs to keep going.
Otherwise, we really will be scraping the barrel. We'll find someone, I'm sure. Just remember the game's live on BBC Two. If you want to catch the end, you want to see the pictures, of course, you can put our commentary to match up with it if you'd prefer. 44 needed from 49 as Bell in bowls. Quicker delivery and in defence. It's been a good over this from Bell. She's just built some pressure, varied her pace. Very impressive from her. She's bowled 3 overs for 17 so far, but India need 44 from 48 and they're currently 99 for 2 with Mandana 48 not out and Kaur, the Indian captain, 14 not out.
England just need to keep bowling whoever they think is the most likely to get a wicket here. That's the only way they're gonna win this game is by taking wickets. So I think we're about to see Sarah Glenn come back on. She'll be wanting to bowl a fraction fuller than she did in her last over, where she got hit to the leg side a couple of times by Harmanpreet Kaur, but obviously 4 wickets in the last game. England obviously feel she's a wicket-taking threat, and she's coming on here.
Yeah, and I just feel like just watching them today, it's not messy, that's not fair to them, but I just feel like they're missing that Heather Knight, that Nat Siver as a captain that can just has that experience of organising where the right fielders are. It's a new group together, people don't necessarily know their fielding position, and India are putting pressure on England as Glenn in bowl, shorter ball, and that's pulled nicely by Mandana. Capsey comes round at mid-wicket, keeps it to a single. She moves to 49, 100 up then for India as the crowd applauds that here at Derby, enjoying what they're seeing under the floodlights today.
That's the tricky thing with the right and left-hander as well, is you're constantly having to kind of come up one side, go out the other side, and it can mess with fielders, it can mess with the captain, it does make things trickier. So the longer Smriti Mandana stays there, the harder things like that will be.
Again, field change. And you've got a long off, a long on, a deep mid-wicket and a deep square leg to Harmanpreet Kaur. There's Glenn, the leg spinner, in bowl, short ball, and that's cut. And that's beaten a diving cover. Alice Capsey can't do anything about that. That's 4 runs to Kaur, but that was just too short from Sarah Glenn. And these 2 batters aren't going to let England get away with that. 39 from 46 required.
It's been a feature of Sarah Glenn's bowling today. She's really struggled to find the length to bowl. She's bowled a lot of balls that India have been able to hit hard off the back foot for boundaries, and it was leg side last time for Harmanpreet Kaur, offside this time.
Glenn in, Fuller this time, and on the full toss works it up to mid-wicket. Eccleston comes round, keeps it to a single, and fires it back into Sarah Glenn. Kaur on 19, 38 needed from 45 balls. Mandana's on strike, 49 not out. And Glenn just really wiping that seam on the ball with a towel. Must be a bit of dew under the lights. It's September. We were talking about it being autumnal earlier as Glenn in bowls, and that's just pushed up to long off. And that will be Smriti Mandana's 50. Come off 36 deliveries, and that's a fantastic innings from her. An Indian flag in the distance, held by some fans waving, and that's a key innings for her and her team, and she needs to be there to get the job done now. 37 from 44 required.
Been a brilliant innings from Smriti Mandana. She attacked the power play like she does, like I said, trademark style, but what I think she's done really well is since that power play almost gone back a gear and made sure that she's taking the runs that are on offer.
Glenn in bowls, that's hit into the onside. Danny Wyatt's out there and drops it. She didn't have to move at that deep mid-wicket boundary. She's gone for the hands, pointing up to the sky, and it's hit her hands and popped out. Danny Wyatt's one of the better fielders in international cricket, She's put it down. Harmanpreet Kaur gets a life. Sarah Glenn into Mandana, short ball, and that's pulled into the onside. Freya Kemp does well out in the deep to keep it to a single. She moves to 51, 108 for 2, 35 needed from 42. That was a big moment, Anya.
Yeah, it potentially was a big moment. You had a chance to remove India's captain to put a quite inexperienced middle order under a little bit of pressure, and that was, as boundary catchers go, it doesn't come much more simple. She quite literally didn't have to move. And
with the floodlight at the angle, the floodlight, obviously I'm not defending her here, obviously she'll be disappointed to drop that catch, but women don't often play under floodlight, so it is a new thing for them. As an international cricketer, you obviously do it more than a domestic cricketer, but you'd expect Danny Wyatt to take 9 out of 10 of those, and you see her disappointed out on the boundary. But India anyway need 35 from 42. They've got 8 wickets in hand. And Freya Davies into the attack. Slower ball, and that's hit back down the ground. It was aerial, but to a outstretched Freya Davies, she can't get there. 109 for 2. 34 from 41 required. Would you be looking to put a bit more pressure on with your field position? Did I read your mind, Anya?
You read my mind, Emily Windsor. We're just so in sync. As you were saying that, I think England have got to take a punt, and I think they've got to have a mid-wicket in the ring. I don't think you can just give easy singles into the leg side.
Freya into Kaur, and that's played guided to a third man. Will be no run. 34 from 41.
The rate is under a run a ball, and when it gets to that point, you've got to start taking a few kind of risks, I guess. The game is not in your favour, and a simple one would be to bring that mid-wicket into the ring, which means that Harmanpreet Kaur doesn't just have an easy kind of single as an outshot.
Davies into Kaur, and that's on the leg side, that's hit into the onside. It splits a long on and a deep mid-wicket, and that's a boundary for Harmanpreet Kaur. She's not letting off here, she wants to get it done quickly. 30 required from 39 balls.
It's been a really good innings so far from Harmanpreet Kaur. She can be a slow starter at times, but she's come in, she's been given a few freebies by the England bowlers, but she's put the bowlers under pressure and has taken the game away from England really here.
I just feel like with that field that she's got as well, that looks like a massive gap, doesn't it, between deep mid-wicket and long on. There's a lot of space on that leg side because the field's all spread. As Freya Davies in again, slower ball, and that's driven out to a deep extra cover by Kaur. Sophia Dunkley comes in, keeps it to a single, 29 off 38.
It just looks like a field that you would have if you were bowling first and a team was kind of, you were trying to restrict a team to then go and chase a total. That's the kind of field that it's set. It's not a we're defending this score and we need to try and find a way to get some dots.
29 from 38 then. Davies into Mandana, just blocks it back to her. Good delivery from Davies. 29 off 37 required from India.
Like I was talking about before with Smriti Mandana, what she's done so well is she got ahead of the game in the power play, and then she's almost come back a gear. One criticism I would have of her is she bats so well in the power play, and then she kind of gives her wicket away sometimes quite cheaply.
Davies, blonde hair, whistles away, and that's pulled in to the mid-wicket gap. 28 from 36, a call of get round from the captain Amy Jones. 28 from the last 6 overs then. Should be India's game from here. It's just not gone in England's way today. Just a little bit sloppy in the field. And the batting as well. The top order didn't fire today. Danny Wyatt 6, Sophia Dunkley 5, Alice Capsey 2, Bryony Smith 16, Amy Jones 17. Maya Boucher played really nicely for a 34, and Freya Kemp 51 not out. It was the middle and lower order that had to bring up a total as Eccleston into the attack, pulled into the gap. That's hit hard and splits a deep mid-wicket and a deep square leg. Mandana is putting her foot down here. She moves to 57, 24 from 35.
I think the way that the England players are drying the ball, there's clearly some dew down there, which I guess we go back to the toss. England won the toss, chose to bat. Admittedly, not down the ground, but it looks like the ball's come on really nicely this innings.
Eccleston in, and that's a player miss outside the off stump by Mandana.
Yeah, the way the ball kind of slid onto the bat with the seamers in the power play, and even the spinners. I know England spinners bowl a bit quicker than India spinners on the whole, but the ball just seems to have come onto the bat really nicely this innings.
24 from 34 in, and that's driven past Sophie Eccleston. Will just be a single to long off. 23 required from 33.
Yeah, so you look back at that toss and think, was it the right decision to bat first? Should England have bowled first and then chased when there was some dew down and the ball just coming onto the bat a bit nicer?
What would you think the reason behind batting first would have been? Would it have been looking at their lineup, thinking they've got an inexperienced middle order, potentially chase? Would it have been conditions that they potentially read wrong as Eccleston bowls to core and it's worked up to long on for a single?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know whether the pitch would have come into it. It's obviously is a used pitch, so I don't know whether they thought about, I guess, putting some runs on the board and feeling like they could defend it. I guess they may not have known whether the dew would come down or not. I don't know how long they've been here in Derby prior to this game and training under lights. So I think there'll be lots of things that would have gone into it, and the bottom line is they didn't put enough runs on the board.
Eccleston in, and that's a player miss outside the off stump. Amy Jones appeals, but that's more in hope than anything. 22 required from 32. 121 for 2 India in reply to England's 142 for 6 in the first innings. Sophie Eccleston into Mandana, who's paddled it. There's a cry of catch it, but she's not going to get there, and I feel like that's going to skid on nicely to the boundary rope. A fielder diving stop suggests it's gone all the way. Lauren Bell in pursuit, but that's 4 runs to Mandana, and the crowd are enjoying that one. There's a nice mix of Indian fans and England fans here at Derby. It's been a really good atmosphere throughout the evening. Fantastic shot from Mandana.
You know, Smriti Mandana is seeing it pretty well when she's playing shots like that. She's a very classical player. She's not someone who goes to the sweep and things like that particularly often, so you know she's feeling pretty comfortable when she's starting ramping the bowlers.
And smiling out there. She's chatting to Harmanpreet Kaur. She's enjoying herself, and why wouldn't you be if you're 62 off 45? This is the second match in the T20 series. India are 1-0 down, and they've come back with a vengeance today. In the field, they were phenomenal in response to previously poor. As I'll do this one ball, I'm nicking a ball of Henry's. I'm ever so apologetic, as Lauren Bell into core, and that's in defence, and that's worked to a vacant mid wicket for a single, and a few thoughts from Anya, and you'll be joined by Henry Moran.
This has been a really good turnaround from India from what was an underwhelming display up in Durham to turn things around. The way they bowled and fielded, particularly in that first kind of 12-13 overs, and the way they've batted so far in the innings has been brilliant.
Good learning curve for this young England side, as here comes Bell with a loopy delivery which is easily patted down the ground. On the full from Mandana to pick up her 63rd run. 16 needed now from 28.
And I think, like you alluded to, it's a young England team with an inexperienced captain and things like that. They're not going to win every game, and that's okay. I think if we had an expectation that they were going to win absolutely every game and things like that, that would be unrealistic. This, by comparison, is a relatively experienced India team who have got some quality players.
Harmanpreet Kaur, wait, she's on 27. Pace taken off it, and the ball is worked towards Glenn, who slides on her knees at short third to pick up. And a single is added, 15 needed from 27. If you do want to watch any of the highlights of this game, well, they'll be available on the BBC Sport website and app, and you can watch it in full on the BBC iPlayer. If you want to watch the conclusion, well, that's live on BBC Two now. Lauren Bell at the far end. A little hop and a skip round the wicket, with the keeper standing up to the stumps. Mandana's there on 63. She won't find a run though, because there waiting to pick up is Sophia Dunkley. And Across the last 3 T20s they've played, England and India, it's swung quite dramatically, isn't it? The Commonwealth Games semi-final, then the game at Chester Street, and now this one. We're not quite sure when you turn up, who's going to perform on the day.
Makes it exciting.
It does.
Exciting for all.
It really does. Here comes Bell. Falling to Mandano, swivels, pulls into the leg side. Has she found a gap for 4? Well, possibly. Fielder getting round, and a good little bit of relay work out there in the deep will prevent the boundary. Boucher eventually throwing it in alongside Danny Wyatt, who shares a high five with her Vipers teammate. 130 for 2 is the score. It sets it up nicely, though, for the finale of this series at Bristol on Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably as a semi-neutral, probably not even a quarter neutral, it's exciting to have the series level heading into the decider.
I'm impressed it's even a quarter neutral, to be honest, Anya. Here comes Bell. This is lofted away. It's a good looking shot, but there is a fielder out there in the deep. Capsey collects on the bounce, so just the one run. 12 needed now from 24. As Bell finishes her 4 overs. None for 23. 1-3-1 for 2 is the score. Anya, are you departing? You are departing. Anya is leaving us, part of our television coverage on BBC Two. And another World Cup winner joins us. Lauren Winfield-Hill is here. So, barring something remarkable, India are going to win this game, level the series. What have you made of things, Lauren?
I think we're Captain Hindsight, aren't we? I think was it the right thing to do at the toss? Maybe potentially. It is it's historically a hard ground to defend at Derby, as you've seen. Once a batter gets going in the second innings under lights, the ball just skids on it, and it is very hard to stem that run flow.
The word I had prior to the toss is that England wanted to have a bowl. So obviously something changed.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think in this second, Smriti Mandana's a world-class player, isn't she?
And she's got 4 more there, because a full toss down the leg side, a slower ball gone wrong, will be just helped easily to the fine leg boundary. 8 needed from 23. Sorry, go on.
No, she's a world-class player, and when she gets in these sorts of moods, she's very hard to A, slow down, and B, get out. But I just think England could have maybe applied a little bit more pressure on the batter at the other end, and just tried to make them take more risk, bring an extra fielder up. I think the game seemed, in this second innings, it seemed to be India very quickly sort of jumped into the driving seat in about 3 overs.
Davis bowls on the pads of Mandana, who'll get 1 out to deep mid-wicket, just pushed away to move to 71. 7 needed from 22.
It was it was probably that little cluster, wasn't it? Bryony Smith was fairly expensive, and then Freya Kemp, and India sort of just got up and off then, and it's how quickly this short format of the game changes, isn't it? If you have 3 or 4 expensive overs or 3 or 4 productive overs, you very quickly bring that run rate into a manageable place, and from then on it becomes very difficult for the bowling and the fielding side. And yeah, the only thing I wonder is whether England could have taken a little bit more risk with field settings, bringing an extra fielder inside the ring.
Full toss, possibly. Actually, that could be a no ball, as a fielder running round White will pick up. So a single is added, plus the 1 from the no ball and the free hit that will follow. Could well see this game concluding with the next ball, because there's it says 7 needed. I think that's going to become 6 needed. It was again, that's a lower ball from Davis, and it was a beamer that was sort of chest height. It was pulled away.
Yeah, on that, Henry, I think maybe there is an element of it has been difficult for these England bowlers. Nobody's settled into a length or a spell, have they?
Mandana waiting, smacking that ball out into the leg side. Going to get 4 runs as well. Lovely shot from Mandana to bring the scores level. 1-4-2 for 2. She moves to 75, and Davis has not quite been able to replicate her previous overs. This has gone for 11 from 3 balls, and India needs just the 1 run to level this series.
Now we've seen, Sarah Glenn, obviously on the back of a fantastic performance up in Durham, just struggled with her length a little bit tonight. We've had drags down the leg side, and I just wonder how much actually the dew and the wet ball has come into play in this second innings, because we've seen England constantly going to the rag to dry the ball, dry the seam, and they've just struggled to have that control, haven't they, with ball in hand, which has been unlike England. Of
1 to win in the air, 4 will do it. Lovely shot to conclude things. Field up to try and protect that single, but Smriti Mandana takes that invitation to loft the ball over mid-off and seal the deal for India, who win this game by 8 wickets. They chase down 143 with time to spare. Mandana leading the way, 79. An exceptional innings from an exceptional player at the top of the order. The left-hander shaking hands with an England side who have been soundly beaten in this game. 1-4-6 for 2. Victory for India. The series, Lauren Winfield Hill, is level at 1 game apiece.
It's good. That's what you want to play in pressure games, and this series is set up nicely now, isn't it? Leading into that last T20, I think. Credit to India, they've put on a distinctly different performance tonight than they did up in Durham. I think they were good in the field. I think England's middle order, the youngsters in the middle order, did a fantastic job. Freya Kemp is just coming to life, isn't she, as an international cricketer? And I think it's funny, isn't it, because she probably predominantly got picked as a bowler that can, certainly hold a bat and contribute down the order. But I think we've seen tonight that she's much more than that. So there's still huge, Maya Boucher, her top scorer in an England shirt. She played really nicely in that partnership. So there's lots of positives to take out of it, and it's nice that other people got to contribute and other people have been exposed and have come out really strongly, particularly with that partnership with Maya Boucher and Freya Kemp. But yeah, just wasn't quite clinical enough for this young England side, and India were good. They fielded well, they bowled straighter, and Smriti Mandana has just played a lovely sort of classical, elegant innings that if you're on the wrong side of that, she's hard to stop.
She likes playing here. Had a brilliant innings 5 years ago at the World Cup, making 90 or so, and she's played really well again this evening with an unbeaten 79 to get India over the line. And that will be that for England in this game. It's a disappointing performance. Well, not necessarily disappointing performance, perhaps a disappointing outcome, having recovered well in that first innings. They were at one stage 16 for 3, 54 for 5, but that big partnership between Kemp and Boucher making 34, Freya Kemp 51 off 37 deliveries, the second youngest England cricketer in history to make a half century. And so 143 was the target, but Shefali Verma and Smriti Mandana got off to a really good start. 55 from the first 6 overs. The final ball of the power play saw the wicket of Verma caught and bowled really well by Eccleston. Look out for that as a highlight on the BBC Sport website and app. And the other wicket to fall, that of Danalan Hemalatha, who was bowled by Freya Davis for 9, but Mandana at the end 79 from 53 with 13 fours, and Harmanpreet Kaur with 29 off 22, 4 fours in there. I should say Freya Kemp in her innings 3 big sixes as well, the only sixes of the game, which says she can more than hold a bat. She's a high quality operator in every facet of the game. In terms of bowling figures for England, well, nobody really managed to keep a rein of things. Lauren Bell's 4 overs went for just 23, but there was plenty of expensive figures in there as well. England tried to mix things up, but Smith, Kemp and Capsey all had economy rates of over 10, so they weren't quite able to keep this India partnership in check, particularly when Kaur and Mandana came together. So 146 for 2 they finished, chasing down 143 inside of 17 overs. Thank you very much indeed, Lauren Winfield Hill. You're back with us soon, no doubt, or is it for the summer for you?
I don't know, we'll have to sit tight,
we'll have a look at our diaries and we'll work it out.
Depends if actual cricket gets in the way, Henry.
Oh, I forgot about actual cricket. Yeah. Sometimes it does.
We might have a Lord's final. We don't know. Yeah.
Oh well, best of luck in that. Right then, that is it from us here at Derby. We will bring you the series decider on Thursday at Bristol, when we will be on air on Sports Extra from 6:15. But now here on 5 Sports Extra, it's time to join 5 Live Sport. Ian Dennis and Chris Sutton are watching Liverpool against Ajax in the Champions League, where the score is currently 1-1.